Every Monday, we have our longest-running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view, along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, you know, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com, advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
Following reports earlier today that Indiana University freshman Lawrence Plotnick's roommate Brian Tabor has found an excuse to go home every weekend since August, Plotnick spoke to Onion reporters about his roommate's frequent trips to his nearby hometown of Terre Haute, Indiana.
Every week since we got here, it seems like every time I ask him if he wants to hang out on Friday, he has some wedding or birthday party or something. In fact, I'm pretty sure he hasn't spent a single Friday or Saturday night on campus in the past 6 months.
Plotnick went on to cite a variety of far-ranging excuses used by his roommate to justify his constant visits home, including various family functions, a visiting friend from China, as well as his occasional desire to, quote, just hang out at home for a couple of days.
I mean, I suppose I vaguely understood when he had to go back in November because his best friend's grandfather died, but last weekend he had to go back for his aunt and uncle's wedding anniversary. He said he couldn't miss it.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can take control of the airwaves here and bring up whatever is on your mind. The toll-free number for you is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. In the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody. And Chris.
Yeah, right. So, of course, you can take control of the airwaves. That's the point of this program. Coming up, Chris, you're going to be telling us tonight, you've got a bizarre headline here that I am really looking forward to learning about. There's the auto industry. They're running television ads claiming that the so-called right to repair, which we'll get into what that means, benefits sexual predators. So we're not going to go any further right now, but we're going to get into that coming up here. But first, we're going to talk about real predators, and by that I mean the government police departments.
Oh no! Cheese at the cops.
Now, there's a story we haven't covered really in any meaningful detail that's been developing here in the Northeast for the last, I think, week or so. Actually, I guess the death in this case happened earlier this year, I think. Yeah, it was back in March. I'm talking about Rochester, New York. And that is actually fairly nearby to, all things considered, somewhat nearby to where we are. We're here in Keene, New Hampshire. We're the southwest corner of New Hampshire. A lot of the violent police stories, the protests that have cropped up, they've been happening in places like Minneapolis and Oakland and all over the country. But there hasn't been a whole lot in upstate New York. In fact, I hadn't heard of anything until this story out of Rochester. And certainly there's been nothing here in New Hampshire, nothing in Vermont that I've heard about. So there haven't been any real crazy protests or anything that have sprung up around here. And so what happened earlier this year was a man named Daniel Prude was put to death by officers in the Rochester, New York Police Department, a naked black man, according to NBC News.
Oh, the spit hood guy.
You heard about that?
Oh, yeah. I hear about all of them.
Yeah. His head was covered with a so-called spit hood. He was restrained with handcuffs, forced to the asphalt by Rochester police before going limp and dying days later, according to his family. The relatives of Daniel Prude, age 41, released police video and claimed that it shows officers used excessive force to control him. Prude had told police he suffered from COVID-19, prompting officers to put a hood on his head, apparently to prevent him from spitting on them. And he was visiting from Chicago at the time, was a sufferer of mental illness, according to his brother. The incident happened on March 23rd, so almost 6 months ago at this point. More than 2 months before George Floyd died during similar police action in Minneapolis, it came to light looks like about a week ago. According to this story, this was written on the 2nd of this month. So a week or two ago, it came to light after part of the body camera video obtained from police on behalf of family members was released by their attorneys to NBC affiliate WHEC there in Rochester. NBC News does not know what happened before or after what's shown in the partial video, nor how it may have been edited. Joe Prude says about his brother, he's defenseless, he's got on no damn clothes, and they're treating him like a damn animal. You sit there tasing him, laughing, and making practical jokes.
People wonder why there are riots. Well, this is why there are riots. That's how you get riots.
Yeah, when you murder people, in cold blood,
it irritates their family, their loved one. It just irritates everybody.
Yeah, I don't know how people put up with this. I am amazed at how unaware most people are of the world.
Well, and that's what has been somewhat refreshing about, there hasn't been a whole lot to like about 2020 so far, but one of the things that is somewhat refreshing is police violence has been getting more attention now than it would have a year ago.
It's also been going up, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Although the interesting thing about it is it seems like the media pushes the stories of police violence against black folks, but it still soft pedals the
rest of them.
Police violence against white folks. Normally, they try to bury all of the police violence, but for some reason, they've decided that this is a great time to trumpet police violence against blacks. And my belief is that they're trying to start a race war. Okay. The government and the government working through the media. That's my personal impression. I could be wrong.
Do you think that the media is in on it, or that they're just parroting whatever the government is talking about?
Well, I think that the media is the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex, and they report exactly what they're told to report, no more and no less.
Who benefits from a race war? Would that be the Democrats?
Basically, if they can,
I'm just trying to
if
figure
they
this
can
one out.
Cause a large-scale armed conflict between the more militant black population and the militia movement, which they don't like either, then they benefit two ways. The first is they have two of their enemies killing each other, which is much cheaper than killing them yourself. And also they've got the gooey, weak middle, who's now terrified and screaming that they need to institute a complete police state and call in airstrikes on both camps, which gives them an excuse to do what they want to do to us anyway. Maybe that.
Interesting theory.
Maybe I'm just a little
paranoid.
I wasn't going to say paranoid because they used to say I was paranoid when I said I was pretty sure the FBI had my phone tapped.
Well,
and
they
then
probably
the FBI came and arrested me, and I said ha ha.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I was right.
You got a good laugh as they carted you to jail.
Yes.
So let me tell you more about this. So not to focus too much on the incident itself, but it has, there's video of this, and it's somebody got killed at the hands of the police again, and he was totally naked. So it's not like he had a weapon hidden somewhere they didn't know. Right? Like, you don't hide things when you're totally naked. But the entire command staff of the Rochester, New York Police Department and the chief resigned on Tuesday.
That's very interesting. I would love to hear, not that I would necessarily believe their statement if I heard it, but I'd love to hear what they had to say about why they did that.
Well, yeah, because the obvious reason why is they're getting out while they can still get out. Right? Okay, let's get our retirement now rather than later. We don't know what's coming later, but we know we can get the retirement now. So let's get that now.
It's got to look pretty bad, that video, if they're doing that. I mean, I'm amazed. Like, we've got police who are getting their jobs back after being fired for raping women.
You're referring to the Manchester guy.
in Manchester.
Wasn't there an update on that the chief refused to bring him back?
Yeah, there was something to that
fighting.
Effect. It's still unclear, but there was a ruling.
Right. The court, some court ruled that
it wasn't a court. It was a.
Was it a court?
No, it wasn't a court.
It was like a bureaucratic administrative tribunal or something.
It was between It was a mediator, I believe, and it was between the union and
So just to recap, you're talking about Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
One of the officers, I think two of them actually, were involved in a situation. They got caught having sex with, I think, a girl they were bringing to the jail or something.
It was prostitutes, multiple prostitutes. And there was a book, there was a situation where they were supposed to record like incidents and things, and they weren't recording them. They were saying they were at different places than they actually were at certain times.
But they were actually having sex with prostitutes.
Yeah, they were on the job.
Under threat, right? It was like,
right.
It wasn't, look, you either have sex with me.
It was rape. It wasn't. It wasn't a situation where they were being paid to have sex with the officers. They were forced to have sex with
power over a person, that's a rape charge for sure.
That's why the police always oppose repeal of the prostitution laws, as they look at that as a fringe benefit. We get to rape all the prostitutes we want.
But they caught this guy.
They did.
And it was actually, I think, because of JP who was suing them, interestingly enough, another a mutual acquaintance of ours
correct.
here. So because JP was not taking a guilty plea on some BS charges they brought against him, he got to see some evidence that led to this evidence being uncovered of these cops being corrupt. They actually fired these two guys. And so what you're saying is the mediator between the union and the police department said you have to rehire them.
Yeah, 2 years later.
And surprisingly, the chief is like saying no.
There might even be back pay.
But again, the chief is trying to stop this from happening, so there is some credit that's due there.
Yep.
There's more coming up here. 8:55, 450 free. We'll tell you about this. Almost a good fraction of the department resigning coming up.
News from news.bitcoin.com. U.S. Postal Service files a patent for new blockchain voting method. Warren Buffett changes his opinion on gold. Maybe Bitcoin is next. $6 billion Acon cryptocurrency city underway. Former Prudential CEO says now's the time to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies. Getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Subscribe to Bitcoin.com's YouTube channel too. Did you know you can support freedom of speech just by visiting shop.freetalklive.com? You'll see links to Walmart, Love Java, Newegg, and more. Every day, Free Talk Live is at the forefront of the liberty movement as the biggest liberty-oriented talk show in the world, giving you a platform to be heard on any topic. Get listener-only specials without doing anything other than an extra click. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. Use the links and buy what you'd be buying anyway. Take action now. Save and support freedom. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. It's shop.freetalklive.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You're invited. If you want to join us here, you can. The toll-free number is 855-450. Free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. You can hop into one of those, and you'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio. It's Ian, Nobody, and Chris with you tonight. And also from mid-March to mid-July, Divi, a newer, easy-to-use cryptocurrency that we've been promoting here on Free Talk Live, increased in value by more than 10 times. Now, nothing, of course, is stopping Divi from going up more, but you never know what's going to happen in the future, and we certainly won't try to predict that here. But so far, we've been pretty happy with our decision to hook up with Divi a year ago. You can go to diviproject.org and begin earning some Divi by starting a masternode or staking Divi. They've even got a lottery for people who stake the coin as well. diviproject.org, D-I-V-I, project.org. We've been talking about police accountability, police violence, specifically the most recent case, or one of the more recent to come to light cases. It happened actually back in March, but video of it came out within the last couple of weeks out of Rochester, New York, where, of course, protests have been happening, as I understand it, and the entire command staff from the department and the chief have decided they're calling it quits all of a sudden.
You know,
now this has come out.
I wonder how many of those police, because when you quit, that doesn't mean you can't get a job.
They can go get hired somewhere else.
It's like I kind of have to wonder if it's just a please,
just to make a show,
right? To make a show, yeah. And then either they're going to get rehired, maybe by the same department, or
usually it's
another department.
Yeah. Maybe in a nearby town, or halfway across the state, or whatever.
My favorite example of that is Mesa, where this psycho, Mesa, Arizona, where the psycho cop Philip Rumsford, maybe,
was this the guy that shot the dude on his hands and knees?
The guy in the hotel. Yeah. He shot the crawling man. He was fired by the police department, but then he got rehired so that he could immediately retire with a full pension and disability pay for his PTSD from having recreationally murdered a guy.
Whoa.
And it's like, if you're just out to murder somebody, and that was clearly what was going on in that case,
then you get a bonus.
Does that even cause PTSD? I mean, if you're crazy enough to just go out and shoot humans?
But if you want to get some free money, then you say it does.
Yeah, exactly.
So we
and every pig went along with it and let it happen.
It's the brotherhood. It's the thin blue line. Of course, they would want the same treatment for themselves. We go to April in Arkansas, listening to KFPW there in Fort Smith on the FM side. Go ahead, April.
Just my opinion. I don't think that all police are bad. I think that the main issue is the unions, because they protect them. And in almost all of these cases that I've seen, most of these officers have just a pattern of abuse, and it's just kind of protected by the union. And I think that the other officers that probably see that just kind of go along with it because nothing can happen to them. But
isn't that sort of a bad thing, though? I mean, look, I'm not saying I agree with you. I think that some police got into policing for the right reasons, in that they wanted to stop real bad guys, like real violent people. I believe those people exist. But isn't it a bad thing for those officers to ignore and or keep their mouths shut about what's going on around them?
Yes, and I think that if we remove the unions from the police forces, I don't know how we can do that, but if we can do that, then it will help fix most of the issues with the police that we have, because then they won't be protected for, doing these things to these people.
I think that's a decent proposal. I mean, it's certainly it's a
start.
Step. Yeah,
Maybe it's a start. But
yeah,
that's about
it's a step in the right direction. But like you said, it's not going to be easy. These unions are dug in like a tick, and they are getting all kinds of union fees and dues. And of course, the cops are all members of the union. So it's like, how do you dissolve that situation?
You know how you do it. You dissolve the police force. Problem solved.
Yeah. Well, politically, it's also a problem because the left is going to call you a union buster and the right is going to call you anti-cop. So they're going to team up to stop you together from any meaningful change in the system. They also, these are the guys, there's a lot of politicians who are going out and, they're pedophiles, they're raping little kids. They need corrupt cops to protect them. So they're going to they're going to be protecting the corrupt cops too.
The problem,
so it's a difficult thing to do. I'm not saying it's impossible.
There's way more victims of police than there are innocent people who are victims of police than there are actual rapists. I mean, it's such a small percentage of the population relative to the number of people who are victims of police violence. It seems
it's frustrating.
Yeah, it seems like such a hard thing to justify, having a police force when the majority of people who end up in jail are, have committed victimless crimes.
Well, now, of course, the police are going to say that they're just following the law, so you got to talk to the legislature and get those laws repealed. And that's true. They can ignore the law if they want to, but ultimately those laws do need to get repealed because it just does empower the police. It empowers them to search people's cars and search their bodies and ask questions that they otherwise wouldn't ask. So, April, any other thoughts you want to share with us tonight?
Yeah, my only idea is, and I think that the union breakdown should be done at the state level, and I know that if something goes to petition and enough people sign it, that they have to let the people vote on it. And if enough people vote on it, then maybe we might be successful to actually diminish police unions per state.
I hope you can get this to happen there in Arkansas. Let us know how it goes, April. I appreciate it. Thank you for the call tonight. Let's go to Kirby. He's in Indiana watching us on YouTube. Go ahead, Kirby.
Hey, bro.
Hey, what's up, gentlemen?
Hey, Kirby.
No, nobody, you are correct. They do want us to fight one another. But I also think that the powers that be, which would be the news media and the government, they're all in cahoots. They push the narrative like Mr. Prude in Rochester because they want black people upset. They sweep the those type of cases against white guys under the rug or to the back page because they know that will again make black people upset and get them all in their emotions and have them do foolish things like wake up in the morning and decide they're going to go stab some people just because they're white.
And down at the AutoZone.
Did that happen?
Yeah, that was a guy stabbed a couple of AutoZone employees, or at least one, because he just wanted to kill a white person, and then gave him a white cellmate, and he killed him too in jail.
Where was this? Yikes. Where was that?
I don't know. Do you know, Kirby?
I want to say it was L.A., but
wow,
I can't remember. But it's bad because, as you witnessed, nobody, the black community is so divided over what, in my opinion, is petty stuff. Words that we can't get our act together. We're still fighting over whether it's right or wrong to date outside your race.
Wow.
You can start a major fight in the black community.
Isn't that interesting?
for
Because,
showing up.
and Kirby, hang on. If you got more to say, I think you may have more, so stand by. We'll bring you back for that. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. It's interesting because, we know that black people, like everybody else, are individuals, so they disagree, but the media likes to portray the black community as though it's this monolith that they all think the same, and it's ridiculous. There's more coming up here.
40 black communities.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing. To be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can bring up what you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live brought to you by Bitcoin.com. It's It's a good place to go if you're brand new to Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, or cryptocurrency in general, and learn the basics. Hit the Get Started button there and get started. Start by watching the 2 to 3 minute long introduction video that teaches you just the overview that you're going to need to get into cryptocurrency, and it's a great place to get started. Or if you're not brand new, you can go and enjoy their news site or some of their other features. There's a bunch of stuff over at bitcoin.com, and a lot of it's free. News.bitcoin.com gets you to the news site. That's news.bitcoin.com. Ian, Nobody, and Chris in the studios. We go back to Kirby, listening in Indiana via YouTube. Kirby, I wanted to make sure you had a chance to get your thoughts out, so go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to finish up by saying that black people are extremely divided, and I really applaud Nobody and guys like you, Ian, and all of you guys for trying to reach out and build bridges. But you can build all the bridges you want to, but until black people finally come to the conclusion that people like Joe Biden, who I heard couple of weeks ago say that the Hispanic community and the Asian community are diverse, and that's the reason that they are succeeding. And in the same sentence, say that black people are exactly the same on all 6 sides.
He actually did suggest that. Yeah, we talked about that when that happened here on Free Talk Live. He basically tried to paint. He said, with a couple of exceptions, he then painted the entire remainder of the black community as this sort of monolithic in thought, all the same, ridiculous.
And that's like completely opposite to my experience, because I've been trying to figure out how to reach out and to spread the ideas of liberty into the black community, because I mean, who has more reason to not want to be under the United States government than
for sure
some of the people who have been wronged the worst by them? But it's not reaching out to one community, because a Southern Baptist is going to react to you very differently from a Rasta, who will deal with you very differently than a Dominican.
Yep.
And
the guy that was leading the Manchester Black Lives Matter rally was like this really skinny gay kid. You know, like he's not any of those things.
Yeah, you know? and so there's any number of black communities that I've just decided I have to look at separately in terms of outreach. And,
of course.
And each one of them is going
different
to respond differently. But I wasn't prepared for that by, the way blacks are portrayed in media, where it does look monolithic.
You should have known better than that.
Well, I did. I mean, these are like things that I've learned over the course of years. So it wasn't it wasn't a
all
complete
last week.
shock to me, but actually having to buckle down and figure out how to deal with that. It made me think about it a lot more. Let's put it that way.
Kirby, that's just the way people are. They're never going to agree on everything. They're never going to agree on, a significant percentage of things, right? So is it a futile exercise?
No, it's not a futile exercise. But my thing is that, and nobody can probably explain because it happened on his website, but black folks are so stuck on small stuff, insignificant stuff. I don't know if you're old enough to remember C. Dolores Tucker and Bill Cosby when they were on their big thing about they don't like the way rap music or rap musicians, the language they use.
Oh, yeah, I remember when Bill Cosby was on that. That was before he was accused of being a molester.
Which I think there's a very good possibility he was innocent.
Yeah, and I can understand.
That's interesting.
It was basically Bill Cosby was saying, "Hey, hip hop community, you should speak and make sound more English." I guess I don't know. I think that was what he was going to say.
Well, and it's just language. They're words, and if words get your panties so twisted up that you can't work with another person, to get to the same goal, then you need to go sit down in the corner.
Oh, I agree. I mean, that said, I will be irritated if somebody's constantly speaking to me in text speak where they don't actually they won't spell a word out. They won't capitalize. They don't put periods on, after sentences. And it's just like, I know what you're trying to say, but you're not putting any effort into actually trying to say it. So I just don't have that much respect for it.
It's kind of funny. It so reminds me of our little community here in Keene, where we're always fighting with each other, but we're still also, but we're also arguing, but we're still also, working together to achieve goals, despite the fact that, we're like going back and forth with each other.
Kirby, do you remember Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Well, I really loved that band, and I loved that style of music back in that day. And so what I got out of what Bill Cosby was saying, because when gangster rap came along, I didn't like it. And the reason I didn't like it is because, like, Grandmaster Flash, they sang about, violence. They sang about things that were going wrong, but they sang about it like it was a bad thing. And gangster rap, to me, came along and kind of glorified the violence. So that's kind of what I got out of what Bill Cosby was saying. Did you react that way to some of the later musical styles where it's like
the newer rap I detest because it has no message. I liked Grandmaster Flash, Public Enemy, The Roots, X-Clan, because even though they might use 4, 5, 6-letter explicatives, there was a message to it. If you listen to Ice-T's music, he seems to be glorifying violence, but at the end of the song, you're either dead or in a penitentiary.
Ice-T is actually one that I like.
Yeah, he actually gives you both sides of the story. It's fun in the beginning, but it's pain in the end.
It's too bad he always plays cops on television these days.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting.
Hey, Kirby, thanks for the call tonight, man. I definitely appreciate hearing from you. So let's continue. We got Rich E. Rich, co-host here on Free Talk Live, calling in tonight on our Discord lines from, I presume, Manchester. Hey, Richie Rich.
How are you?
Hey, good.
I just couldn't wait for another Sunday to roll by before I got this story out.
All right, what's going on?
I had the opportunity to test out the full compliance mask that I've put together.
Oh, boy.
Okay, you got to describe this thing for our listeners that are unfamiliar.
It's a level 3A bulletproof mask with mesh covering the eyes. So full compliance. It's fully covered. It
looks so creepy. It looks like some sort of creepy mask you'd see a killer in like a horror movie wearing. It is a really scary, creepy mask.
I'm imagining a plague doctor mask with the big bird.
It doesn't have a nose. It's fairly featureless, honestly. It's just like 2 eye holes, and then the rest of it's this just jet black featureless mask almost. I don't know if that's...
And the eye holes I've blacked out with mesh, so you can't even see through the eye holes.
Can you see through the eye holes? Because that's going to be inconvenient. Okay,
yes.
Good.
Okay.
So it works perfectly fine. So I found myself at the Apple Store.
Hold on, before you go on, you were also talking about like maybe not even speaking to the people and like using a text to speech app on your phone.
Oh wow! So here's the problem with that.
Yeah.
My phone is on the fritz, which is why I found myself at the Apple Store. So I couldn't put the full thing together.
All right, but this was your first time. Was this your first time using the mask?
First time using the full compliance mask.
Let's hear it.
So I get to the Apple Store. I've been forewarned that they take a lot of extra precautions. I'm like, fine, my mask is full compliance. So I get there, stand in line, whatever, get my temperature taken at the door, whatever, and then I just proceed inward like it's no big deal. And they go, no, you need to wear this mask. And they proceed to attempt to hand me one of their cloth masks.
Okay.
And I go, no.
Hold on. Stay with us if you can, please. I want to hear the rest of this story. Again, there's no mouth hole on this thing at all. It is
not at all.
Yeah, the only holes on it are the 2 eye holes. So stand by. More with Richie Rich. He's going to tell us the full compliance story. Tries to go to the Apple Store. First time. I'm looking forward to hearing this. 855-450 free like freedom. Then we can tell you more about the police department that's just resigning left and right.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I started fighting the IRS over 40 years ago when they tried to seize my mother's house. I sued the IRS and won. I beat the IRS then, and I've been beating them ever since. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I've helped thousands of people deal with tax problems they thought might never be solved. I can help you too. If you owe taxes you can't pay, don't wait another day. There's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com, danpilla.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
With a MechTech carbine conversion unit, you can turn an XD family Glock or 1911 handgun into a carbine rifle in seconds and have it shipped right to your door, no FFL required. Now, MechTech is excited to announce our pistol carbine conversion unit, more compact with a 12-inch barrel and an arm brace, proving once again that MechTech is the world's most versatile handgun accessory. For a limited time, go to handgunconversions.com. That's handgunconversions.com and use coupon code RADIO to receive $35 off any carbine purchase.
You know how annoying it is when someone keeps stopping mid-sentence as though he or she were asking you a series of questions? Avoid doing that. It sounds unnervingly tentative, and it imposes upon the listener to help you complete the thought. And if you're a job seeker, this alone could be a deal killer. An effective communicator sounds more confident. Complete the thought. Avoid making the listener impatient. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook. Survivalspeech.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Here in the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
Don't forget, you can help Free Talk Live by joining the AMP program like Teddy Graham has done. You can learn more about it over at amp.freetalklive.com. Stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It's a way for us to get on more radio stations, bring new internet listeners on board with the show, and expose new people to the ideas of freedom. So if that's worth, $5 to you per month, that's all we ask for. And Teddy Graham's doing gold, which means he's doing $10 a month. So thank you, Teddy Graham, for that. You can sign up with a credit card, debit card, PayPal, or Bitcoin BTC over at amp.freetalklive.com. You get some cool perks, some bennies. for doing that at ampamp.freetalklive.com. We got Richie Rich on the line here calling us from Manchester, New Hampshire, and he's telling us about this new mask that he picked up. What you're calling the full compliance mask.
Full compliance mask.
But it is essentially it's a bulletproof mask. So it's like a $200 product. And you bought one of these things just because, well, you wanted to have a badass bulletproof mask, I think, number one. But two, you wanted to just kind of troll some people and take this out into the real world and see how people behave with you wearing this. So you
well, you say troll, I say full compliance.
Okay.
Right? If a bullet can't get through, then a virus can't get through. It's because much more protection than those little cloth masks.
Absolutely. Nothing's getting through this mask.
Nothing's getting through this mask.
It's completely closed around the nose and the mouth. There are eye holes on it, but that is it. So you went into an Apple store. They apparently checked your temperature on the way in. Now, what is that like? Is they did not or they did?
No, they did.
They did. Back off your phone just a little bit. You're popping a little bit loud.
Sorry.
So does that mean there's like an employee standing at the entrance with like some little scanner, or do they have like a robot do it?
At the Apple store, it's like bouncers. There's two giant security guards.
Wow.
They're going that route.
They're going that route. Yeah.
Wow.
So
so they have to hold people down to get it in.
Well, I mean, it is Apple. People freak out about their products. They line up for blocks whenever they release a new phone, or they just want to pay $1,000 for a phone, real bad.
And to be fair, the temperature check is very invasive, right? It's
invasive.
They stand there, they gun it. Yeah, I mean,
they need two security guards to hold you down in order to. Yeah, it's invasive.
Well,
I think
they
it
have
said
the security guards there, but it's not. They don't have to hold you down to probe you with a thermometer. It's just,
right.
The topical laser they pointed at your head.
Oh, okay.
Like, hey, you're good.
Now, how did they point it at your head if it's covered by this mask?
Well, because they took the temperature before I was going to put the mask on. I was trying to go in there without putting the mask on at all, right? And then as soon as so they took the temperature, they went, "You're all good." I started to walk in. They went, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! You got to wear a mask," and they proceeded to hand me one of their cloth masks.
So they hadn't seen the mask at this. Okay, I didn't understand that part of the story. You hadn't revealed the mask at any point at this point. Okay, go ahead.
No, because if I don't have to wear it, I'm not going to wear it.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
I mean,
but if they ask you to wear a
prefer
mask,
not
you're
to.
going full compliance. I gotcha.
Right, full compliance.
Got it.
So they hand me the cloth mask and go, no, I've got my own. And I proceed to take the mask out of the bag. And the security guards are really impressed, like, oh, yeah, doing one of those things. I get the mask on, and then I'm immediately approached by the manager.
Really?
He goes, "Sorry, sir, you cannot wear that mask in here."
Oh.
And this is where it gets interesting, because he goes, "You have to wear one of the cloth masks." and I go, well, this one's better, right? Like, this mask is clearly better than the cloth mask.
It's
and here's the
bulletproof.
interesting thing.
Right.
It's bulletproof. Right. He goes, "It's about optics. It's about how you look in the store."
I can see just fine.
Right. Yeah. So I go, "Oh, okay." Right. It's not about, I'm thinking this to myself, it's not about safety. It's about optics.
Nope.
So I go, fine.
Interesting.
So I put my mask away. I take one of the cloth masks. And before I put it on, like, I'm taking my time at this point, right? So I walk into the store as I'm dangling it from my ear, and then I slowly hook it on my other ear. I'm wearing it like a chin strap. I get to my counter. I find my wife because she was already in there. And the manager approaches again. He's like, "Excuse me, sir, but you have to wear it over the mouth, the nose and the mouth holes." So I pull it up, and we're good to go. And then, I get to talking to the Apple genius guy, whatever. And of course, the mask starts to low ride down my face, because that's what happens. Wouldn't happen in the full compliance mask, by the way, but the mask starts to ride down past my nose.
Right.
And lo and behold, the manager appears again.
He's watching you.
He's right. And I go, "Man, you're spending a lot of time on me."
Right.
He's like, "Well, it's not just you, sir, apparently, right? I'm monitoring the safety of all the, all the
I'm
customers."
now the people man. I'm the customer
Right.
manager.
Right. And then he goes, "And it's for the safety of the employee." And I go, "Well, it's not about safety, because I have a vastly superior mask in my bag. You were clear at the front of the store that this is about optics. And now you're standing like 3 feet away from me. Back up."
This so reminds me of what happened to me at Corner News today. I go in and I get yelled at by mind you, I'm the only person in the store. I get yelled at by a guy without a mask on to put a mask on, and it's like
employee
by an employee, and I'm like, "What?" You're yelling at me to put a mask on when you're not yourself wearing a mask. And
It's
I
so
just forgot.
insane.
Like, I didn't even realize I wasn't wearing a mask.
It's just so sad what people are doing to each other over all this. It's just so crazy.
And I think that's another thing where they're trying to create conflict.
Yeah.
You know, and it's working beautifully. I mean, the real freaky mask people, I mean, they want us dead if they see us without a mask. And
they usually won't say anything about it, though. They won't say
No, they'll tell you later on Facebook.
But now it's their mask,
cowardly.
right? Because I was willing to comply, full compliance. You want me to wear a mask? I'll wear a mask. Sorry, sir, not that mask, because it's not about safety.
Right. It's
about
optics.
optics.
Very
They
interesting.
don't like my Guy Fawkes mask either.
It's interesting that he actually used those words.
That is interesting.
He said optics. It's about store optics.
It's about what people will think when they see who's in the store.
Right. Exactly. So that so I reminded him, that I have a far superior mask in the bag. He told me not to wear the far superior mask because it's about optics, not about safety, and that. Coming up to me 3 or 4 times, he's now, encroaching on that 6 feet limit. And what is he doing about that?
Of course, right?
So he goes, So he goes like, you're absolutely right, sir.
Yeah,
he took like 2 steps back. I went back, to handling my business with the genius. And that was the last I saw of him.
This also reminds me of how the police will arrest people in some places for not wearing a mask. And it's like, well, what are you doing with these people after you arrest them? You're throwing them in a cage with dozens of other people who are not wearing a mask.
Just to be clear, that hasn't happened in New Hampshire.
No, but you hear stories about it from Canada and other places, and it's like, so, and New York, I think, was doing it, and like it was just,
sometimes they'll beat the hell out of these people not wearing masks, which means they're bleeding all over the place, which really puts you at risk from any viruses that may be in their bloodstream.
And the crazy thing is, the people enforcing the mask, like these mask rules, are getting close to you. It's like, I mean, whether it's the cops or employees, it's just. I don't know what these people are thinking.
Or the manager of the Apple store at the Mall of New Hampshire.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Richie. Anything else you want to throw out tonight? Go ahead.
No, that was it. I just couldn't wait till next Sunday to tell that story, so I figured I'd call in and share it.
Thanks for sharing that with us. I definitely appreciate it, and good luck out there. Toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Speaking of cops and arresting people, they hauled off, and you mentioned Canada. Just recently, hear this story from today, earlier this morning or yesterday. Cops hauled a, quote, hysterical, unquote, family off of a WestJet flight from Calgary to Toronto because their 19-month-old baby wasn't wearing a face mask, according to the father.
Wait, are they saying the family was hysterical, or the people who decided they shouldn't be on the airplane were hysterical? Because that sounds pretty hysterical to me, that they're even worried about that.
Safwan Chaudhry says the airline wanted the infant to wear a mask, but the child would not stop crying. Good enough reason to take it off the plane, in my opinion. But a spokesperson for the airline confirmed to the CBC that the flight on Tuesday evening was canceled, and all the passengers were ordered to disembark.
They canceled the entire flight over this?
Apparently. Maybe they feel like they have to sanitize the whole jet before they'll let somebody else back on there.
Wow.
WestJet have since said the issue was not with the infant, who is below the age required to wear the face covering, but with the family's 3-year-old. Canadian transportation law mandates anyone above the age of 2 wear a face mask. The father claims his 3-year-old daughter was eating a snack before takeoff when flight attendants approached and demanded that both children wear a mask. He and his wife were wearing masks, he said. Chaudhry asked if his daughter could finish eating before she put on her mask, but the flight officials said they had a, quote, zero tolerance, unquote, policy and would not close the door.
Zero brain cell policy.
That's how zero tolerance has always been, back from when they had it in the government schools. Now it's on flights. And they would not close the door of the aircraft unless the girl was wearing a mask. The dad then agreed to put one on immediately, but said his youngest daughter became so agitated that she vomited. He told the BBC, "My younger one had a very difficult time. She was basically hysterical." Claims the flight officials then became aggressive and said the family would have to leave if his daughter would not wear a mask. They eventually agreed to leave the aircraft, but it looks like that wasn't until they brought the police on, according to some of these photographs here. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. You can take control of the airwaves. It's Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From bad to worse in the West, I'm Lisa Brady. Fox News says fire crews wage an epic battle against widespread wildfires that have already killed over 20 people. We're now learning about how many people are missing. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more live.
Well, Lisa, while at least 4 people have been killed specifically in Oregon wildfires, Governor Kate Brown said today dozens of people remain missing. In California, at least 10 people have been killed in one fire alone, the North Complex fire, where 2,000 structures have burned in Butte County. The sheriff there says another 16 people are missing. California Governor Gavin Newsom toured the damage.
I'm a little bit exhausted that we have to continue to bait this issue. This is a climate damn emergency.
As multiple fires burn, resources are stretched thin. Firefighters from Israel, Canada, and New Jersey, as well as even closer states, are assisting here, Lisa.
Thanks, Jessica. For the second time in a month, a U.S. brokered peace deal is reached in the Middle East. Bahrain agreeing to recognize Israel just days before Israel and the UAE sign their agreement to normalize relations at the White House next week. President Trump in an Oval Office announcement today saying he's hopeful of more deals.
We think ultimately you'll have most countries join, and you're going to have the Palestinians in a very good position. They want to come in. They're going to want to come in because all of their friends are in.
And so far, Palestinian leaders have strongly condemned the agreements as a betrayal of their cause and the ongoing push for statehood. Earlier in the day, both the president and Democratic nominee Joe Biden each attending ceremonies to mark 19 years since the 9/11 terror attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people. Biden visiting both New York's Ground Zero and Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where he met with victims' families. Mixed finish to the week on Wall Street. The Dow up 131, the Nasdaq down 66. America's listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to DIY, need design help, or prefer measure and install services, they do it all with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. If you're nervous, know that Blinds.com has over 30,000 5-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them do the whole installation.
Go to Blinds.com now to get this week's special savings on interior blinds, shades, shutters, and even outdoor shades. Plus, pay over 24 months at 0% APR on qualifying purchases with PayPal Credit Easy payments through 9/17/2020.
As of March 1st, 2020, new PayPal credit accounts have a variable purchase APR of 25.49% that will vary with the market based on the prime rate. Minimum interest charge is $2, subject to credit approval. Visit Blinds.com/PayPal. Other rules and restrictions may apply.
A court hearing today for the officers charged in George Floyd's death. His brother filling us outside the courthouse in Minneapolis.
We need to stop this. This is wrong. We need justice, and we demand that.
Family members urging peaceful protests to continue. A lot of questions facing the judge.
No decision on motions in Minneapolis in the case against 4 officers accused in the death of George Floyd on a possible change of venue or to combine cases. Though Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill did disqualify Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman and 3 other prosecutors, saying a private meeting that they held with a medical examiner makes them now witnesses in the case.
Today's hearing marked another step in what will be a long process toward justice.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, the judge still also has yet to rule on motions to dismiss. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
One of the federal prosecutors helping to lead an investigation into the origins of the Russia probe has resigned.
Free Talk Live.
I'm not interested in supporting the killing of people around the world, and I'm not interested in supporting the imprisoning of people within this country. So that should make it pretty clear what my position is. What's yours, Frankie?
Kind of have an inclination that from what's going on and, the media, how the media plays into it, and how they're popping up with different areas in the world, like Somalia.
Who's popping up with different areas of the world?
Do you watch the news? You watch the news?
Hell no. Who's popping up? You said someone's popping up. They are popping up. Who is they?
I'm sorry. You know what it is? I'm thinking that you watch the news like I do.
Yeah, I don't watch television. I don't even have television. Do you guys watch the news?
No, I read a lot of news, but I don't watch the news.
The problem is, Frankie, if we can't communicate, we can't have a conversation.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Now, a lot of little girls do ballet even though their fathers couldn't care less and don't see what the big deal is. But one talented little prodigy actually choreographed a whole ballet that her father could enjoy and even look forward to. Let's meet Erin Kemper and her father, Jack.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Erin, how did you do that? I thought about all the things that my dad likes to watch and put it into a ballet.
Well, we have a special treat for you today because Erin is now going to perform her new ballet. When I pay the bills, I get to make the rules.
We can't afford that. World War II. I miss your mother too, but we're going to have to do the best without her. Go Redskins!
Bravo! Well done. Boy, I wish you were mine. You know, my 2 girls are grown up, but you still couldn't pay me to watch one of their a cappella shows. What inspired you to create this amazing ballet?
I'm really inspired by the theme of my dad paying any attention to me at all.
Now, at the end, I hear she just put the game up on the big screen.
I don't know where she gets it.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything that you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Coming up, the auto industry has some ads running claiming the so-called right to repair somehow benefits sexual predators. Now, if you don't know what the right to repair is, that's going to be an important part of this. We'll get into that coming up here in a little bit. Chris has that story. With you in the studio tonight, you do have Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
We are going to go to your calls and your thoughts. In fact, if you call in on the Discord lines, you will sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. So please jump onto Discord over at discord.lrn.fm. It's a great way for you to interact with other Free Talk Live listeners before, during, and after the show. In fact, we're going to go back to those lines here in just a moment. But if you're just tuning in, we were just telling you about this yet another ridiculous story about an airline throwing a family off of a jet, off of one of their flights. Not while it was in the air, but, when they're...
Which, I mean, give it time.
Oh, wow.
Take your, they might make you, they might start making you walk the plank after a while.
So they not only did they throw this family off because they had a 3-year-old daughter who the family says was eating a snack. Now, the idea is if you're eating something on the flight, then you don't have to have the mask on. So that was what they were saying. The mom and dad did have masks on, but none of that was good enough for the airline. They said they would not close the door to the aircraft until the little girl put the mask on. And of course, it's not always easy to, to convince small children or, young people or anybody to do the things that you want them to do. And so I guess she didn't put it on fast enough or whatever. So they tossed him off the plane and then decided they were just going to go ahead and kick everybody off the plane. WestJet, the Canadian airline, confirmed that after the flight staff were called, passengers then deboarded the plane and the flight was canceled and rebooked for the following day.
I wonder if this was like a flight at a certain hour, like midnight or almost close to midnight, and they can't fly after midnight because in some areas they have restrictions on like what times they can fly.
I can't say.
Like, I'm trying to think of like what other possible like rational explanation.
Tuesday evening. It was just a Tuesday evening, so it wasn't too late. At nighttime. But here's the explanation. They have one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They said, quote, "Due to the rapid escalation of the situation on board, our crew felt uncomfortable to operate, and the flight was subsequently canceled."
What?
Wow. When they start hiring weaklings to fly planes?
I'm sorry, but like what?
That's it. They just felt bad, so they didn't feel like doing their jobs.
I mean, I'd have felt bad if I ruined that family's vacation for nothing.
I have to say, if I was on this flight, I'd be kind of glad that they shut it down, only because I'd be afraid to fly with those people, in charge of the plane if they're afraid of.
What if they get triggered in midair, see a spider or something, and they all run back to the tail of the plane because they're afraid?
I don't know. I just figured I should give you that last little bit
fear
of that
over
story.
A 3-year-old girl.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
They emptied the entire flight. Then, if you take all your
Where
passengers,
do you find these stories? Like
it was
just insane.
I think this one was actually put in our chat room over on the Discord server over at discord.lrn.fm. Thanks to our great listeners there for suggesting some really interesting news stories. But man, pretty sad stuff there. Now, every time an airline cancels your flight and they force you to stay overnight, which is what they did, because now all these people that were planning on going home or to whatever
I wonder
business
if they
meeting,
covered their costs to their hotel rooms.
They usually have to. That's usually the way it goes. Like if you say, "I'm sorry, we're canceling your flight, sir.
Yeah.
Now you have to stay here overnight." Usually they're pretty much required by being like semi-decent companies and competition, right, to provide you with a hotel room. So that was a very costly canceled flight.
Yeah, that was a full flight. That was probably, tens of thousands of dollars.
You can see some of the video here. I mean, it doesn't look non-full. It looks pretty close to packed.
Wow.
Thanks. Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts here.
They don't have to socially distance 6 feet on airplanes?
I guess not, as long as you've got the magical masks on.
I understand.
I wonder how they stop the virus from going 6 feet when you're on an airplane.
I was under the impression that they were actually packing people together on these airplanes, all in
they
like
seem
a
to be
small
sitting
location.
next to one another.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts here. We do have someone calling themselves Nut on the line, calling from Burlington, Vermont. You're on Free Talk Live. Nut, go ahead.
What's up, guys?
Hey, you're on the air.
What's up?
Hey. I was just wondering if you guys thought it was gay to have sex with a trap.
A trap? Like a mouse trap?
No, like a femboy.
Ouch.
Someone who is presenting as though they are female, but in point of fact, they have genitalia.
Oh, a transsexual.
For a man.
Okay, groovy.
That's what you're referring to, right? Someone who, they're described as a trap because they look convincing, but then you find out when you get into bed with them that in point of fact, they are armed with male genitalia.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. One of us here is gay. I'm bisexual. I don't think he's ever slept with a transsexual. I actually have. It feels a lot more like a girl than a boy most of the time. But
except where it counts.
Well,
doesn't feel like a girl.
Well,
down there.
I mean, there's an unfortunate it's not entirely the same, but
I have a question for you though, Nut. Why does it matter to you?
I recently had sex with a trap, but my friends keep telling me that it's gay, and I think it's straight, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's like you can classify it in your mind any way you want to, but I would say if I was counseling, if you came to my church and I was counseling you, I would tell you it's human and it doesn't matter what words you attach to it. If you had a good time, do it again. If you didn't have a good time, don't bother.
That's good advice. Thank you, Nut, for the call tonight. Appreciate it. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Yeah, I would agree with you there. I mean, how'd it feel? I mean, did you have a good time? That's it.
Yeah.
That's all that really matters.
Yeah.
Did she or he or whatever have a good time?
Yeah.
So there you go. All right.
It just is what it is.
Yeah. And if your friends want to make fun of you for it, then they need to grow up. Because that's really, what matters is how, what are you experiencing? What are the feelings that you had about it? Not what other people think. So don't live to appease others. That's really going to generally turn out bad for you. Whether you're trying to live to appease your parents or trying to live to the expectations of your so-called friends or your boss at work, then you are constructing who you are based on what other people want you to be, rather than doing what is true to you. And I think that's the better way to go about it, is to do what's true.
Yeah, I mean, to thine own self be true, and it will follow as the night the day. Thou canst not be false unto any man.
Coming up, we're going to come back into police abuse, and there's an update on Minneapolis Police Department. Supposedly, they're going to overhaul their use of force policy. So we're going to find out what it means to, quote, overhaul the use of force policy when you go to the Minneapolis Police Department. We'll get into that coming up here. But we're going to change gears into this so-called right to repair story. And I keep using the term so-called in front of that, because this right to repair is a new set of terms. I don't think I heard it before, last year. And I think the circumstances I heard it underneath was that there was some law, and it might have been on the West Coast. I'm not sure where it was, but basically it mandated that all companies, electronics manufacturers or whatever, that have schematics for their devices that they're making, that the government was mandating that they make all of that information available to anybody who requests it, so that a person has the so-called, quote, right to repair their own products that they purchased. Is that basically what the idea is?
I don't know. I don't know to what degree it extends, and I think it's probably a fairly it's fairly general, but usually it's like parts and things. So like if your modem dies in your computer, you can get a new modem or something of that nature. Because many companies will refuse to sell you a new modem, if the modem dies or the motherboard dies or whatever the part in that computer is that died, or the electronic device. It's not just computers, but just as an example. And sometimes those parts are proprietary, so you can only go to the manufacturer for them.
Which is a crappy situation, but, my opinion, it should be buyer beware. You should have known. You should have done the research to find out that, you can't... Apple won't just sell you that, processor chip or whatever. They want to sell you a whole new box.
Poor choices, poor decisions.
Or they want to sell you an Apple man to come and do the repairs, at a steeply inflated price. So we're going to talk about how this somehow ties into sexual predators coming up.
I have no idea.
It's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org. News from news.bitcoin.com. U.S. Postal Service files a patent for new blockchain voting method. Warren Buffett changes his opinion on gold. Maybe Bitcoin is next. $6 billion Akon cryptocurrency city underway. Former Prudential CEO says now's the time to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies. Getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Subscribe to Bitcoin.com's YouTube channel too.
Doodle, Stuart, Harold, and Pork Chop. Pork Chop, his beautiful blonde coat is very thick. He's an Akita, German Shepherd, Lab, Husky mix. They did a DNA test on the 4 rescues. The first year is just a complete retraining. Lots of love, discipline, and daily upkeep. I'm a registered nurse and a personal trainer. If I eat healthy, then my dog should eat healthy.
DINOVITE.com.
Dynavite.com. They need the vitamins and minerals that Dynavite provides.
Dynavite is nutrition.
Harold, the Border Collie Pit Mix, has the most beautiful jet black coat. Stuart, my rat terrier, has fur now where he never had it before. Doodle, he's a poodle cocker spaniel. His energy is tremendous. The Dynavite will make your dog happy, vivacious, jump up and down, wag their tails. It will make you smile.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynavite at DINOVITE.com.
The political world is a maddening cesspool of corruption and lies. Nobody tells the truth. Nobody keeps campaign promises. Nobody obeys the Constitution. Nobody puts the people first. How can we ever escape this web of tyranny? Vote for nobody.
Hi, my name is Nobody. I'm running for governor of New Hampshire because nobody knows how to live your life better than you do, and nobody deserves that kind of power. I want to put you back in control of your money, your lifestyle, your work, your body, and your life. Nobody should rule you but you. New Hampshire convicts many people of so-called crimes that should never have been prosecuted. If elected, I will pardon every victimless crime in New Hampshire history. This includes drug, gambling, prostitution, gun, and driving offenses. Nobody should have a criminal record when they have not harmed anybody.
Wouldn't it be nice to have nobody telling you what to do? Learn more at electnobody.com. electnobody.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything that you want. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. We'll go back to that coming up here in a moment. We're going to tell you more also about this story, this ridiculous-sounding story about the auto industry in Massachusetts claiming that the so-called right to repair somehow would benefit sexual predators. So we're going to get into that here in moments. With you in the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Chris.
And communities issue their own currency backed by Intercoin. They can choose to inflate the circulating supply of their own money to spend on internal projects, or they can choose to tax certain transactions and remove money from circulation. These activities deterministically change the exchange rate of the community's local money to Intercoin without affecting the other communities or the rest of the Intercoin ecosystem. Each community can choose its own policies and openly program them into their coins. Each individual can choose what coins to get and how to spend them with upfront knowledge of what they're getting into. Intercoin is attempting to regain some of our freedoms that are threatened on the internet and in meat space. We think that's important here on Free Talk Live, so we accepted $40,000 worth of Intercoin tokens from Intercoin Incorporated for advertising. If you think freedom is important too, check out Intercoin at intercoin.org. You can invest in this project and potentially make big gains or just be involved and perhaps shape its future. Intercoin.org. We're going to get back into the story about right to repair, but first, to your calls and thoughts. He's Pizza Cake Man on our Discord lines. Go ahead, Pizza Cake Man. You're on the amp line.
So our country is under attack by libtards on the left. They are setting fires. They said that they were coming to the suburbs. I told you that this was going to happen about a month back when I called in, that they were going to start leaving the cities and going out and doing things in the suburbs. And it seems like what they've chosen to do is an organized arson attack on suburbs and rural areas.
Really?
Our country is
Any evidence of
under
that?
attack. So, yeah, there's tons of people that have been arrested now that are Antifa activists, people that have had gasoline in their cars, full.
Don't you have to have gasoline in your car?
Yeah, clearly. Full containers full of gasoline and pre-made Molotov cocktails that could be thrown to start the fires.
Now, are you referring to the fires that are on the West Coast? Apparently, there's quite a few.
Oregon, California, Colorado.
Why would they go to those areas? Aren't those the hardest left areas of the entire country, or is it they're targeting the rednecks?
Are they looking for a war with the environmental terrorists?
The cities are all very leftist, but even in places like California, the conservative farm towns are still very much right-wing. So they are attacking our conservative values out in the farmlands.
Well, I don't have conservative values,
forests.
but I value freedom. If a conservative agrees with freedom, then I'll agree with them on that issue, whatever that happens to be.
What conservatism is. Conservatism ultimately boils down to the idea of leaving others alone.
Well, I haven't seen
except
that.
when you're imposing your religion on them, or
I haven't seen them, or when you're imposing your beliefs about drugs. A lot of conservatism.
That's not true conservatism either. That's religious.
Oh, not true conservatism.
Right,
see.
that's religiosity. Right. Religiosity, when mixed with conservatism, creates what you consider conservatism. When true conservatism.
Well, I don't know if that's true. I mean, there's religious people who leave me alone. There's religious libertarians who don't get into my business. They just leave people alone.
Well, I can give you my best advice toward heading off these attacks. I don't know if it'll do you any good, but give it a shot. Let's get all the conservatives to call up the local police departments and tell them to stop killing people. It's true it's true that a protest should not turn into a riot, but
I have to also say,
my turn, bro. I'm talking now. Okay, so what you should do is you should use all of your influence to get the police to stop randomly killing people all the time. And it's not just black folks, it's people of all types that are getting killed on a regular basis, and it irritates people. And they tend to be more on your side of the spectrum. So if you have any influence with them to get them to stop killing, that'll cause people to settle down a lot.
What does that have to do with Marxism, though? We're talking about the Marxists.
It doesn't have anything to do with Marxism. It has to do with what's got these people so irritated. And what's got these people so irritated is that the police will kill you like you're trash in the street. And people don't like seeing that happen to their friends and their relatives, or even people who look vaguely like them. And it's all kinds of people who are getting murdered. I'm sorry, you keep trying to talk when I'm talking. When I pause, go ahead. Now, what were you saying?
That's a very leftist argument that you're making, though.
Okay, is it false? Because if not, I don't care to label
because
it.
the reason why they're out there protesting is because of the Marxism that is prevalent in our country and the push for chaos in the streets so that they can affect a political change towards the left and towards a Marxist political system taking over our country. So that's why they're out there in the streets. They're using this Black Lives Matter, this police brutality thing as a focus point, but the real fact of the matter is that there are Marxists that are attempting to create a Marxist system in the United States.
Well, I think you're not there are kernels of truth in what you just said. There's definitely Black Lives Matter Incorporated, which is run by Marxists, and chances are Antifa is definitely Marxist, but that's not why they get sufficient popular support to be able to do what they're still doing. What gives them the support is people being angry about people being murdered in the streets. And so if you can stop that from happening, then what you do is you take away all of their support from the sane people. And they're left with just their isolated 2 or 3% that's actually dedicated Marxists.
Yeah,
and
I have to wonder,
there's not much they can do.
What percentage of these people that are burning buildings, that are destroying property, are actual Marxists versus those that just want to burn and destroy things? I mean, just troublemaking teenagers or 20-somethings that have nothing going for them in life, and they like to see something burn. I mean, I
feel like that's
breakdown?
less important though than the people that are actually planning. So the people that are out there affecting the actual action, sure, they may not be Marxists.
I don't know if there's a lot of planning that goes into this. I think that you've got. I think that what you have happen are a bunch of people that want to show up to destroy things, and then they just destroy those things. I don't think that they knew they were going to destroy the AutoZone. I don't think that they, when they were driving to town, they weren't like, all right, let's hit the Chick-fil-A. Yeah, I know that.
The AutoZone was a cop.
You're right. You're probably right about that. But I was just giving an example, right? So I don't think they knew they were going to take down the liquor store, right? Like
I just think nobody's got a little bit of a leftist idea on why they're actually out there, when in reality they're clearly out there because of the Marxist Jews.
I think you can only know what. And thank you for the call, Pizza Cake Man. I think you can really only know if you ask, and I don't think you should be able to jump to conclusions just by looking at video footage of somebody setting a fire.
It's not a monolithic group. Yeah. There's all kinds of people there for all kinds of reasons.
Right. Same thing with our conversation with Kirby earlier about black people. Same thing's true with these rioters. More coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now's your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more, and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. Do you have a WordPress website running WooCommerce and want to accept cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin SV? Now you can easily enable crypto payments from your customers by adding the AnyPay plugin to your WordPress site. Just visit AnyPayInc.com and set up your account by entering your cryptocurrency wallet addresses in the admin. Then enable the AnyPay plugin in your WooCommerce. That's it. Now your website takes crypto like Bitcoin thanks to AnyPayInc.com, AnyPayInc.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live, and you're invited. If you want to join us, you can take control of the airwaves. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live. We will be broadcasting from Forkfest 2021. We'll look forward to seeing you there June 28th through July 4th at Rogers Campground, which is going to be taking place right after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, the same spot it was this year, which most people seemed to appreciate. Some, they may decide to move their celebration to before the Porcupine Freedom Festival. So who knows? We may end up having 3 weeks at Rogers Campground coming up in 2021. But Aria and I and some others are looking at the week of June 28th through July 4th for Forkfest 2021. So we'll hope to see you there. You can get your campsite or your motel room or your RV site registered right now with Rogers Campground. There's no need to wait till next year. If you know you want to go, just go ahead and book the site right now and start planning for it, because it is the decentralized libertarian camping festival, and it was a good time this year. So we'll look forward to seeing you there next year. You can go to forkfest.party, forkfest.party, and you can learn more about the event there. So, Chris, you had just started telling us a story about Massachusetts, where they are, I guess there's some sort of proposal for a so-called right to repair law. Now, the way right to repair is positioned, it's a new concept for me, right? Like, I am the kind of person, I'm not entirely good at opening up electronics and, like, you know, testing them and everything. Like, I can build a computer from parts, but I can't, like, replace capacitors and things like that on boards. So, like, there's a certain level it's too much for me. Yeah. My dad actually used to do that kind of work when he was my age. But I never learned those skills from him. But if I did have that level of skill, I should be able to go into my devices and do whatever repair I want to. But that's different from right to repair, isn't it?
Yeah, so I support one's right to repair something. I don't support the use of violence to achieve the objectives, and that's effectively what's going on here. Is they're advocating for government to step in and force companies to do something that they don't want to do, and of which you could have simply chosen another company to purchase hardware from that doesn't do those abusive things to you.
It's the negative right to repair versus the positive right to repair. Nobody has a right to stop you from repairing your stuff, but nobody has an obligation to provide you with tools, equipment, and training to do it.
Right. Yeah. Or in this case, something as simple as schematics, or giving you, easy access to the things. It's like some products, like an Apple computer or whatever, or I think Dell used to be this way. I don't know if they still are, but there's certain computer manufacturers that use proprietary, even like proprietary screws, like things to like keep their case together, to where you need a special screwdriver or whatever that you have to order.
I think only Apple did that.
No, I came across it. I think it was Compaq. It was either Compaq or Dell. I came across it in the 90s.
HP, Lenovo, Toshiba, Apple, Sony.
Really?
Yeah.
At different times, not all the time.
Yep. I'm not saying all the time,
Dell's
but definitely
been pretty open when I've had them.
Dell is definitely not open. They're using digital. So the thing is, these companies are doing some really bad stuff. They're using something called digital restrictions to prevent you from replacing parts, even though they're standard components that are used in those slots. And basically what they do is they do something called whitelisting, which is also socially unacceptable apparently now. But anyway, I'm going to use that term because I disagree with the whole idea of banning words. So basically what whitelisting is it's a list. It's in the BIOS basically, and it says if there's a card that's not on this list, don't start the computer up or don't allow it to activate the slot or whatever. And so you're basically restricted to only being able to install the cards bought from the manufacturer and generally only the cards that were originally sold in the machine.
Now, what would you have to do to update that list?
Well, I mean, you'd have to hack the BIOS. I mean, it's not something that you typically...
So it's
you
not
can't
a separate
typically
chip you could
do
replace,
it. I mean...
or...
No, I mean,
you're better off just building your own computer rather than going through these guys.
The answer to the problem is don't buy from these companies.
Yeah.
Because
they're going to keep doing this crap.
Yeah, they're going to keep doing this stuff, and you contribute to the problem, by purchasing from these companies.
Right.
And the list that I just made is probably pretty thorough. So pretty much if you don't do from the five big guys, the five major manufacturers, you're probably not going to have a problem in this area. But if you do buy from them, then you're kind of contributing to your own downfall, I mean, is the best way I would describe it. I mean, I think people should have the right to repair stuff, but the other problem is that it's not just the computer industry, but also like the auto industry, and all these industries are actually advocating for laws and have had laws passed that make it illegal to try to bypass digital restrictions. So that's the bigger concern, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well, both sides want to use the government, right? So you've got what you just described, the companies that want to make it illegal to bypass their restrictions. And then you've got the other side of it, which are the people that want to mandate that these companies open their products up and or give certain support and technical specs or instructions or whatever to anybody that wants to repair or repair companies and that sort of thing. So both sides are struggling over the guns of government to try to turn them against one another.
Yeah.
Rather than just using market mechanisms like outing the companies that do this sort of behavior, promoting the fact that they're nasty in this way, and giving alternatives in the marketplace to say, hey, if you don't want to be restricted, buy products from these companies.
Yeah. I mean, this is something
like thinkpenguin.com.
Yeah, my company does. Yeah, I mean, this is very much in line with what my company does. So we sell computers, and we don't lock down the parts. We do the opposite. We try to make things as accessible as possible. You can replace them with our parts, or you can replace them with some other company's parts. More or less. I mean, there's some stuff that's not, that's going to be proprietary in a sense because it's only specific to that machine. But generally, like, there's a lot of standard parts too, and so we're not looking to take a standard slot and lock it down by using whitelisting in order to prevent you from repairing or upgrading or whatever.
Another example of this whitelisting, I think, might be that maybe more people are familiar with, because very few people are probably trying to open up their computer and switch out a video card or a RAM stick or something like that. But I'm thinking of this printer here in the studio. There's this HP printer.
It's a terrible printer.
It's a good printer, but it's got a bad feature, which is restrictions
exactly what I'm
on
talking about.
Cartridges. So if you put a cartridge in there that's manufactured by like some Chinese manufacturer, and mind you, I tried the whole Chinese toner route for a long time, and I've never really been impressed with any of the products that I get from these companies, these alternatives. Yeah. But anyway, if you don't put an official HP branded product in this toner cartridge slot, it'll just refuse to take it. It has a little chip on there that it checks. It checks it against an online database. So if you don't have an internet access to your connected computer, I don't think you get to print things these days. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And this is exactly the kind of thing that so this printer, so this is an all-in-one HP printer, color, and though all of the all-in-one HP color, this is like my expertise. This is my subject area. So basically all of these printers, HP printers that are all in one color laser printers, are all terrible.
Yeah.
For this type of reason. Now, what's humorous is that a lot of other HP printers are actually some of the best printers to buy. But yes. But they're all in one.
Why the discrepancy? Why such the wide, some are terrible, some are the best? Why?
I don't know that there's logic. I don't know
the
if
all-in-one division just sucks and the rest of them are okay?
So
I would say just different strategies.
So part of it is the components being used in the all-in-one color laser printers. The color printers are fine. It's the color all-in-one and part of the problem is that I don't know if this is HP might be licensing some of the technology in their color all-in-one laser printers, and so some of these pieces are proprietary that the software is dependent on. But there's also other reasons for some of what they're doing, like the ink stuff, for example, and preventing you from connecting other.
They
printers.
want you to buy their ink,
right? But these types of things cause all sorts of problems. So for the end user, from support, from maybe it'll work today, but it won't work tomorrow when you go to buy a new computer or you upgrade your operating system or whatever.
We haven't even gotten into the point of this
No,
story.
we haven't.
I mean, it's interesting to talk about what right to repair is, so that way we can lay the groundwork. But this actually has to do with the automotive side of things.
It does.
And something's going on in the law. We'll tell you about it and why sexual predators are involved.
It's absolutely
ridiculous. The battle of late stage or terminal illness is a fight that affects everything and everyone in your life. If you or a loved one are dealing with advanced stage conditions that are causing financial hardship, like stage 3 or stage 4 cancer, Alzheimer's, COPD, or ALS, then this message is for you. Our Funds for Living program make it a simple 3-step process. Text the word LIVE to 411-411 or visit fifthseasonfinancial.com/radio and we'll send you a link to get started. Choose the amount of money you need, apply in seconds. That's it, and you're under no obligation. Fifth Season will advance a portion of your life insurance policy and take over your premium payments so you can provide immediate financial relief to the ones you love, all without any out-of-pocket expenses. Fifth Season Financial wants to help you live your best life. Text LIVE to 411-411. Text the word LIVE to 411-411.
Attention radio listeners, if you're concerned about the coming chaos after the November elections, this will be an extremely important message. Here's why. No matter what the outcome in November, catastrophic social upheaval is a very real possibility. Here's why this is important. Listen, we all know that silver and gold have been historic hedges against the uncertain waves of social chaos and unstable currencies. But did you know that there's been times in the past, during times of extreme hardship, when Americans put another store of value above even silver and gold? It's true, open pollinated seeds have been and could very well be the ultimate store of value in the coming hard times ahead. Go to survivalseedbank.com to get heirloom seeds below wholesale. Visit survivalseedbank.com this week and get hundreds of dollars in free bonuses. Beat the coming chaos, beat rising food prices, but above all, don't wait. Beat the crowds by claiming your own Survival Seed Bank today.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You bring up anything you want here. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. We're talking about the so-called right to repair. It turns out it's actually just a bunch of people who are trying to force, admittedly, companies who are doing undesirable things to stop doing those things. But if you want a company to stop doing an undesirable thing, the best thing to do is use boycott and competition and supporting
and
the
buy from a company that's doing good things.
Right. Do some research and find out a better option.
This is exactly why I'm not a fan of using proprietary software. I'm encouraging people to, companies that effectively to continue to produce this software that I don't have control, and then I don't have control over my own devices.
Right.
So it's like you don't have to, I'm not a fan of copyright law, but I'm not going to stop somebody from without copyright law. You can stop proprietary software. So I'm not going to stop somebody from releasing or try to use government to stop people from releasing proprietary software just because you get rid of copyright. But I'm certainly not going to encourage companies, by buying their products and services if they don't release the source code.
This is just people who are like, oh well, we really love Sony's products, but we don't like this one thing about them, so we're going to use the government to change that.
Yeah, right.
And no, that's a bad precedent, because it's basically saying that if you don't like a thing in the marketplace, just use this criminal enterprise to come in there and change it for you.
Right.
Well, what happens when Sony gets control of the criminal enterprise? What happens when your competitor gets control of the criminal enterprise? Then they're going to use it against you.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. Like, on the one hand, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, well, this would give us some, how do I say this? This would give us some, it would sort of be like a hack on the system that, the bad guys are, using. But at the same time, it's also a bad direction to go, because it also, you then have to accept all the other bad things that they're doing and they're using government to achieve. And that's not a good leadership position to be in, I don't think.
But unfortunately, this is it's a strange issue. Because as we were just discussing, and we're going to get into why we're even talking about this coming up, but that as libertarians, we're free market people.
Yeah.
So we want people to be able to make choices in the free marketplace, and we understand that means that some companies are going to do things that we wouldn't do. You have a company called ThinkPenguin.com. You sell all Linux-based, privacy-centric products. You're open. Anybody who buys a computer from you can open it up. They can swap cards out. They can do whatever they want to it, right?
Yeah. Anything that you buy from us is going to be as free and open as we can manage it. And we're working on all sorts of stuff to try and get things, push the line further than we're currently capable of, because we're also relying on other companies. So it's not like nobody is alone, when it comes to, developing or designing or engineering stuff. You're relying on other companies to put stuff together. And if no company is doing it, then it becomes a much that you can rely on. If there's no company out there doing the right thing, then what do you do? I mean, you're running against a brick wall here, and it's much more difficult.
So would you sell that printer, for example?
I wouldn't sell it.
Okay, because of the interlock on
too proprietary.
Yeah, there's multiple issues with that printer, but yeah, I mean, we do have it's kind of funny. We have a Canon all-in-one laser printer. I think it's black and white. It's black and white, but it's the only all-in-one laser printer that we'll sell. We don't have any color all-in-one lasers. We do have color lasers, and then we do have all-in-ones, but only inkjet that are color also.
So anyway, let's get into why we're talking about this, because as libertarians, we support the free market, which means that companies can make bad choices.
Right.
And it means that you should be free to make the choice to not patronize them and let the market decide what these things should be. But people know the government's there, so big companies want to have control over it to, essentially force their way upon people. And other people want to force the reverse on the companies. And we're over here just like, hey, man, can't just people be left alone? But as a result, it means that we will oppose the right to repair, because that's a force against these companies to give out all this information and open up their products and this and that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I am opposed to your right to repair something. I would say I'm opposed to the
government's version of it.
I feel like
that's the problem with this
a socialist kind of.
Well, that's the problem with this
movement.
wording. When they say the bill's called right to repair, then we have to be against the bill, Which means it sounds like we're against the right to repair.
Right. And that's not true.
We're against their definition of the right to repair.
What this should really
no positive rights.
What the right to repair should really mean is that that you have the right to try to repair something.
Yeah.
And you should
fail.
You should be allowed to attempt to get around any kind of restrictions that a company tries to put on. Right now, it's illegal to try and repair stuff.
Really?
Because of digital restrictions and the way the law is written. Yeah. Do you remember DVDs and back in the day? They were encrypted, and when the keys were leaked to decrypt them, the 2600 magazine basically they published the source code, and then they were ordered to stop publishing it, and then they did, and then they linked to it, and then they were ordered to stop linking to other people's copies, and
They're
then
trying to get them to unring the bell.
linking.
You can't unring the bell once it's rung.
They stopped linking to it, but they had text versions of the link effectively. So anyway, they eventually were forced to stop that as well.
Wow.
And unfortunately, it didn't hit the Supreme Court. But honestly, it was probably, unfortunately, because it was a hacker magazine, it probably wouldn't have done well. But unfortunately, we've never had a case hit the Supreme Court as a result. And it's such a clear situation of you have the right to publish, you have the right to speak, and they're taking away that right.
I'm surprised they didn't go that far.
So it should have been a free speech. It was a free speech case, but they unfortunately, for whatever reason, even though your First Amendment right should supersede copyright, because the Constitution only permits them to pass laws in regards to copyright. It doesn't actually say copyright. It's not in the Constitution. It just says something to the effect of, they can pass a law. But a law is not, again, the laws are below the constitutional protections, theoretically. Right. So you should theoretically, your right to speech should trump any of those laws.
I wonder why they didn't go further with the case.
Because they felt, so my understanding, if I recall correctly, is they felt that it wasn't going to go in their favor because the courts are biased and hackers don't have a good reputation, and it's Hacker Quarterly.
Right.
So it just
they're all bad.
Yeah. So they decided not to take it up to a higher court or try to appeal it to a higher court. But unfortunately, they're probably the only group that is going to
they were in that position.
Be in a position to really do anything like that. Anybody else who tries to appeal is, I mean, it's
all right. So how are sexual?
what you could do is just reproduce exactly what they've got, and then wait for that person to come after you. So you've either put on the net what they wanted on the net on the first place, and the only way that the company can stop you from doing that.
Unfortunately, we're talking about 20 years ago at this point, right?
It's too late.
Old case. I mean, no one cares about the DVD encryption codes at this point.
No.
So, all right, let's find out, why are sexual predators being brought into this so-called right to work?
I mean, this is how ridiculous these arguments are, and I think that the argument is a little ridiculous on both sides. But
sure, because neither of those sides are a principled side. They just want violence to be used to enforce their way.
Right. So
unless that's a principle. Are
you able to play the video? Do you want to?
I have. Should we start with the video rather than prefacing
I think it might be a good
this?
idea to start with the video so people can get an idea.
So these are advertisements, and they're apparently manufacturers or automotive manufacturers. The Alliance for Automotive Innovation is what they're called. They've purchased some advertising. These are being run on Massachusetts television stations, and here's number 1 of 2. It's a woman in a parking garage. She's walking.
If Question 1 passes in Massachusetts, anyone could access the most personal data stored in your vehicle.
It's a lie.
Domestic violence advocates say a sexual predator could use the data to stalk their victims. Pinpoint exactly where you are, whether you are alone.
They can do that already anyway.
Even take control of your vehicle.
Vote no on one.
Keep your data
keep
safe.
your data safe.
Yeah. So
how are they? I wish I could interrogate this woman, but I mean, grown-ups use encryption that you can't get through, even if you know how it works. That's why PGP can be open source software and still be secure. So I'm wondering what's wrong with their software that if you know how it works, you can break it?
Effectively, what they're saying by saying what they're saying is that their software is so defective.
It's crap.
Yeah, their solutions are so defective that they can't afford to let somebody else put it. And the crazy
means
thing
they're
is
using security through obscurity as opposed to security through actual security.
The crazy thing is I'm pretty confident that the law doesn't say that they have to release the source code. So that really begs the question then at that point of how on earth could they possibly connect remote control of the vehicle to the ability to get parts in order to fix the vehicle in the first place? It just doesn't make sense. And this is, I'm calling them out on this.
Toll-free numbers, 855-450, free like freedom. We got more on the so-called right to repair, including another advertisement. There's a second one here in the story.
Nice.
So we'll see what other claims they're making. And do you have a comment on this? Join us. It's Free Talk Live. Hour 3's next.
Did you know you can support freedom of speech just by visiting shop.freetalklive.com? You'll see links to Walmart, Love Java, Newegg, and more. Every day, Free Talk Live is at the forefront of the liberty movement as the biggest liberty-oriented talk show in the world, giving you a platform to be heard on any topic. Get listener-only specials without doing anything other than an extra click. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. Use the links and buy what you'd be buying anyway. Take action now. Save and support freedom. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. It's shop.freetalklive.com. Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From bad to worse in the West, I'm Lisa Brady. Fox News says fire crews wage an epic battle against widespread wildfires that have already killed over 20 people. We're now learning about how many people are missing. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more live.
Well, Lisa, while at least 4 people have been killed specifically in Oregon wildfires, Governor Kate Brown said today dozens of people remain missing. In California, at least 10 people have been killed in one fire alone, the North Complex fire, where 2,000 structures have burned in Butte County. The sheriff there says another 16 people are missing. California Governor Gavin Newsom toured the damage.
I'm a little bit exhausted that we have to continue to bait this issue. This is a climate dam emergency.
As multiple fires burn, resources are stretched thin. Firefighters from Israel, Canada, and New Jersey, as well as even closer states, are assisting here, Lisa.
Thanks, Jessica. For the second time in a month, a U.S. brokered peace deal is reached in the Middle East. Bahrain agreeing to recognize Israel just days before Israel and the UAE sign their agreement to normalize relations at the White House next week. President Trump in an Oval Office announcement today saying he's hopeful of more deals.
We think ultimately you'll have most countries join, and you're going to have the Palestinians in a very good position. They want to come in. They're going to want to come in because all of their friends are in.
So far, Palestinian leaders have strongly condemned the agreements as a betrayal of their cause and the ongoing push for statehood. Earlier in the day, both the president and Democratic nominee Joe Biden each attending ceremonies to mark 19 years since the 9/11 terror attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people. Biden visiting both New York's Ground Zero and Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where he met with victims' families. Mixed finish to the week on Wall Street. The Dow up 131, the NASDAQ down 66. America's listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to DIY, need design help, or prefer measure and install services, they do it all with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. If you're nervous, know that Blinds.com has over 30,000 5-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them do the whole installation.
Go to Blinds.com now to get this week's special savings on interior blinds, shades, shutters, and even outdoor shades. Plus, pay over 24 months at 0% APR on qualifying purchases with PayPal Credit Easy payments through 9/17/2020.
As of March 1st, 2020, new PayPal credit accounts have a variable purchase APR of 25.49% that will vary with the market based on the prime rate. Minimum interest charge is $2, subject to credit approval. Visit Blinds.com/PayPal. Other rules and restrictions may apply.
A court hearing today for the officers charged in George Floyd's death. His brother filling us outside the courthouse in Minneapolis.
We need to stop this. This is wrong. We need justice, and we demand that.
Family members urging peaceful protests to continue. A lot of questions facing the judge.
No decision on motions in Minneapolis in the case against 4 officers accused in the death of George Floyd on a possible change of venue or to combine cases. Though Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill did disqualify Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman and 3 other prosecutors, saying a private meeting that they held with a medical examiner makes them now witnesses in the case.
Today's hearing marked another step in what will be a long process toward justice.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, the judge still also has yet to rule on motions to dismiss. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
One of the federal prosecutors helping to lead an investigation into the origins of the Russia probe has resigned.
LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
Calling it the most effective means to reaching one's full earning potential. A new report issued by the Employee Benefit Research Institute this week found that violently slamming one's supervisor against a wall and shouting, "Cash, I need more cash," is still the leading tactic for securing a raise amongst American workers.
We found that employees have the most success negotiating their salaries when they stride confidently into their supervisor's office, manhandle them like a rag doll, and demand more money right now.
Experts confirmed that the majority of employees who managed to increase their salaries maintained direct eye contact with their supervisors while reiterating that they were not f***ing around, emphasizing their position with phrases such as, "Give me the money now," and "I said more cash, old man." The Onion sat down with Kevin Simmons, who recently applied these methods in negotiating a competitive bump in his annual salary.
So the other day I walked right into his office, grabbed his throat with my hand, and told him straight up, "Start paying me more f***ing money today." And I grabbed $100 out of his wallet and told him that was a good start.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want. Toll-free number, 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. So we kick off the third hour here. Coming up, by the way, later tonight, after the broadcast radio show is over at 10 p.m. Eastern, just give it about a half hour or so, and then Nobody Tells the Truth is back on with another fresh episode. Is that right?
Yay! Yes.
I take that as a yes. Okay, good. So Ian, Nobody, and Chris in the studio here. We're in the middle of a story, and we're going to continue it. It's about the automotive industry lobbying in Massachusetts against a bill that's called, quote, right to repair, unquote. Now, on its face, I support a right to repair, just not the right they're talking about. And nobody put it in a good way that they're talking about a positive right to repair, meaning that companies would be forced to provide you with schematics and plans and open up, an open architecture or parts and things like that. Whereas a negative right to repair just simply says that it shouldn't be a criminal act for you to try to repair a thing.
Yeah, which already exists. It's already illegal in many cases to try to repair your stuff.
And it's worth noting in general the difference between negative and positive rights, because that's the root of a lot of confusion and a lot of disagreement. Libertarians in general believe in only negative rights. So basically, it's always the right to do something. But for example, you have a right to keep and bear arms, but you don't have the right to have. But the government doesn't have a responsibility to buy you a gun
or to train you,
or to train you. You have a right to medical care, to secure medical care, to go to any practitioner of your choice with or without government permission. But that doesn't mean that I or the government or anybody else has a right to or has a responsibility to provide you with medical care.
Right. Yeah,
I just have a responsibility to leave you alone.
It's better to say you have a right to seek the medical care, right? Because if you can't come to an agreement with the provider, you can't force that provider to give you the provisions, right? So that would be
definitely true. And some people worry about that, but the thing is, without the government in your way, if the government respected your negative right to contract with anybody you want to get your medical care, well, then you'd be able to afford it by contracting with people you can afford.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically trying to enforce a monopoly on parts, effectively, is what these companies, these auto companies, are trying to do. They're trying to prevent you from taking your car or your goods to a independent repair shop. They want to force you to go to their authorized repair centers where they can jack up the prices.
Arm and a leg.
Yeah, to do the repair. It's interesting because I don't know the auto industry as really at all. But I do know, I mean, a little bit, but not like I'm not in depth with it, right? Because I don't sell cars, right? I'm a computer guy. But like in the computer industry, when you see the price on the shelf and it's too good to be true, well, it actually is too good to be true. And one of the ways they make up for that is by selling afterward parts for several times the markup that you would otherwise be able to get them for when. And anyway, so that's how that's just how the industry works, and it's funny because the computers themselves, there's a 10% margin for everybody in the chain, from the companies that make the chips to the companies who sell the computers. So there is literally no money in selling computers. It's always in the parts that are sold with the computer, the services, the warranties, extended warranties, or aftermarket sales of replacement parts. And if you can force people to only come to you for those generic parts, then you make more money. And that's how they get those deals.
And that also means you can provide crappier service.
Exactly.
Right? If you are the one and only provider, then you have no competition. Now, in this case, there are other computer companies from which you can buy, so it's not like a total monopoly, but it is definitely moving in that direction.
So there is a monopoly in terms of software when it comes to phones. Once you have, well, certainly for any given platform. So if you've got an Android phone, well, maybe not so much with Android.
You can swap out Android.
You can a little bit.
But then you're going to avoid your warranty.
That make it very difficult, right? With Apple, it absolutely is, a monopoly when it comes to applications. And most people don't know is you're paying Apple 30% every time you buy an application.
That's right. We found that out recently.
So it's
interesting.
Yeah. So that price that you're paying for that Apple product is not. It's actually too good to be true. It's actually bumped up higher than you realize, and you're paying it over time.
I've never heard Apple prices described as too good to be true.
They're always
really
I've heard them described as too bad to be believed.
Okay, let's put it this way: they're much higher than you perceive them to be, and they are already high.
They're counting on the other revenue.
Yeah.
There's more to the story. We got another ad to play here.
Yeah.
That's a scary ad about how if this so-called right to repair passes, people are going to get raped, according to the automotive industry. But first, we're going to go to.
Oh, they've seen Apple prices too.
Matt is in New Hampshire. You're on Free Talk Live, watching us on YouTube.
Hey, how you doing? I was just calling in to talk about right to repair about cars.
Yeah.
So you guys are talking about. Well, first I'd like to say that more government isn't the solution to the problem the government causes. But you're talking about how you could boycott these companies, and the thing is, I would love to buy a car that has a carburetor and just a regular ignition, just like they built cars in the 70s. And anyone can work on those cars. But the government banned those technologies because it doesn't fit their emission requirements.
Yeah, right.
And a tiny bit of, fuel efficiency I get from these new systems, I would rather just be able to buy a car, and just pay that cost in fuel. But I think that's
they won't allow you to make that choice.
Right.
Yeah, they don't let you make it. You have to buy the new stuff instead of old technology where you wouldn't have to pay, tens of thousands of dollars for a car because, the technology's been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people used to be able to work on their own cars, and that's why I think it's like a big issue. They're like, well, we can't work on these cars now because all these proprietary systems, but they're pushed on you. You don't have an alternative.
Yeah. And the auto industry is actually ensuring that they have I don't want to say it's a monopoly, but they have, you can't put together a startup to build or design cars because the cost of entry in that marketplace is too high because of the regulations. Those regulations often benefit the established players in the market.
And that's amazing.
They're actually advocating for them oftentimes.
That's amazing when you think that in the 1920s, a man could build a car in a garage. Yep. One guy, he could make a car and he could sell it. Maybe it takes him a while to make it, but he could make a car and he could sell it all by himself. But with modern technology, you can't do that anymore because the government's in the way.
Prior to the Ford and the Model T, I believe it was, every car was, I believe, unique in its design and manufacturer. So they were much more expensive, mind you. But the point is that every car was, so it's not impossible.
More expensive than now? I don't think so. I'll bet with all the emissions garbage and with all the crap they have to put on it, it's probably even adjusted more expensive now.
I mean, keep in mind, I'm speaking relative to the time period, right? So obviously, if you have mass production, it's going to be cheaper. Even if today, if you could buy a one-off car, it's still going to be way more expensive.
No, wait, isn't it still now, Matt? Tell me if you know this is the case because I know you're a car and plane guy. You can build a kit car, can't you? Like you can build a kit plane. Isn't that a possibility?
Yeah, so a lot of guys, what they do when they build a car is they'll actually buy a frame from like a junkyard that has paperwork, and they'll build the car and register it as the car that it used to be, where it's exempt from like the seatbelts or whatever technologies that they don't want to put into it.
But they can't. Can they legally sell that to another person, or is it something they have to keep for themselves?
Well, yeah, so if you bought a car from the junkyard, let's say you want to build a car, you could buy a frame with paperwork. Like if someone junked a car from the 60s, you could buy that car. You could build a car and say, it's this car from the 60s. And of course, you could sell that because as far as the government's concerned, it's the same
car from the 60s. Gotcha.
Just like if you modified a car today, you could change the headlights if you wanted to. And it'd still be legal to use.
But then you're paying a guy to build a car for you, and you're going to pay an arm and a leg, to do that.
Keep in mind, even if you do that, you still have to comply with all the regulations that these cars.
Though? Not necessarily, not as a kit car. Because with older cars,
well, a kit car is not the same thing as building from a frame, but there's still certain regulations that you would have to comply with in order to drive it.
Building from a frame, though, I used to. One of my best friends was a car mechanic back in the day, and he would say,
Hold that thought. Matt, stand by. We're going to continue here in a moment. We just blew right into the break there.
Postal Service files a patent for new blockchain voting method. Warren Buffett changes his opinion on gold. Maybe Bitcoin is next. $6 billion Acon cryptocurrency city underway. Former Prudential CEO says now's the time to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies. Getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Subscribe to Bitcoin.com's YouTube channel, too.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free, bring up whatever you want. Our number, 855-450, free like freedom. We're talking, we have a caller. We're talking about the right to repair, the so-called right to repair. What does it really mean? What are the differences between positive and negative rights? Nobody, you were getting into that just a moment ago. You can talk about whatever you want, though. Of course, you can bring up anything that's on your mind. Our toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And we're going to continue with more of your calls and thoughts. We do have Matt on the line in New Hampshire, and you're a car guy and a plane guy, Matt, and you had some comments on this. I want to make sure you had a chance to get your thoughts out on the automotive industry down in Massachusetts. They're trying to stop this set of laws, this so-called right to repair, that libertarians are against the law that they're proposing, which would mandate that companies open up their software or open up their hardware and remove all proprietary elements. And I haven't read the bill itself, so I don't know exactly what it entails, but that's generally the concept.
I mean, it's funny because I'd be against the bill, but I also think what the auto industry is trying to claim is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. It's both sides are not good sides on this.
No.
But, Matt, go ahead with your thoughts.
That was basically what I was going to say. I could just add one more thing. These technologies like carburetors and, computerless ignitions and stuff like that, in other countries, they still use these things and they manufacture them new, where, the government doesn't ban it. So there is a market for it. I'm not the only guy that would actually desire this.
I would love it.
I would love a car. That, like what you're describing.
Right. And if it was like an extra gallon, every time you filled up.
And are they like way more simplified under the hood, meaning that you can actually work work under the hood? There's not like a ton of stuff jammed in there.
Oh yeah, and if you've got an old Nova, you can climb right in there with the engine. There's plenty of room.
I got 200,000 miles on my car, and I refuse to buy a new one. I have an old Honda 2005 Honda Accord.
Didn't you go out and buy another older car?
I did buy another older car. Not for replacement parts, but I did buy. We did buy another older vehicle. Actually, every vehicle I bought in the last 10 years has basically been an older vehicle from that same time period because of they don't have all the tracking stuff, and it's not. It's funny thing is, they're still bad. Like they still have black boxes in those vehicles. It's just much worse on newer vehicles.
Yeah, definitely. Every 10 years or whatever, generations, it just keeps getting worse. Matt, thanks for calling.
1973 is where you want to go for automotive freedom. Like get a 1973 Nova or Camaro or something like that.
I'm not ready. I'm not willing to go back that far, but
it's harder to find those too.
Yeah,
right?
And it's something that would be impossible to find, and all the maintenance and stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do when I really can't get a 2005 era car anymore.
By that time, you may not need cars. You may have like
where we're going, we don't need roads.
You may have automated Ubers that are everywhere, and you don't even have to have your own car.
I think that's optimistic, and I'm not a big fan of Uber either.
No, me neither.
A lot of these companies,
they're worse than they've ever been. Uber is now mandating that customers who let's say a driver. You try to take an Uber and you don't wear a mask. The driver snitches you out to Uber. Now Uber will demand that you take a selfie showing yourself wearing a mask before they'll even send out your ride request the next time. So they're getting total like central control crackdown. Luckily, there is an alternative out there, and it's Cell 411. We're going to hopefully be talking more about that as the year comes closer to a close, but there's not much that we can say right now. It is available now, but hopefully it's going to get a little bit better by then.
Cross my fingers.
So check that out. They have a ride-sharing feature there. So 855, 450 free. Chris, did you want to tell us about this story? What do we need to know?
Let me read just this paragraph, I think, because I think it sums it up much better than we've actually summed it up.
All right.
So the Alliance for Automotive Innovation.
This is from Vice, by the way.
This is correct. The Alliance for Automotive Innovation, which represents nearly every major auto manufacturer in the United States, is funding this and a series of other TV ads like it to scare Massachusetts residents into voting against a ballot measure that would expand the state's already existing right to repair law to ensure that you can continue to get your car fixed by anyone you want.
Now, of course, Vice is going to take the side of this particular law. They
probably
are likely to be supporting this. Go ahead.
The ads heavily imply and at times state outright that the legislation would somehow lead women to be stalked and sexually assaulted, a charge that cybersecurity experts say has no grounding in reality. Instead, the auto industry wants to ensure that when your car breaks, you have to take it to a manufacturer, authorized mechanic, or the dealer itself. So it's I think what Vice has said here is very true, but at the same time, the right to repair laws, it should be you have the right to attempt to repair, but it's up to you to buy from a manufacturer that doesn't effectively take away your ability to repair.
And the other thing is, in a truly free society, there would be no intellectual property.
Right.
So people wouldn't be able to put a patent on a part so a third party couldn't manufacture it.
They might have to reverse engineer it in order to do that.
Yep.
But
Sure.
Yep. Yeah. It's not to say, and this is the crazy thing is people don't understand that you don't necessarily need these things in order to succeed at business. You still have what's called a first mover advantage. When you come out with a product first, well, it's going to take time for your competitors to reverse engineer it and
not
produce
just
something
that,
and then market it
and everything else, right? And you then also have more sales than they do, so you end up becoming the market leader. So, and I know this because my company does this already, and we release the source code and things of that nature.
Yeah, and not just that, but it forces companies to compete on quality. Because if they can make the same thing from the same design, then how do they differentiate themselves? Make it right, make it solid, make it work every time.
Right on.
I think there's more that I'm going to share the next paragraph because I have it pulled up in front of me. The legislation is an update to an already existing law passed by Massachusetts voters in 2012 that has become a national standard for auto repair and a model piece of legislation for other right-to-repair bills that would make it easier to fix all sorts of electronics. The 2012 law enshrines the ability for independent mechanics, meaning anyone who's not a car dealer, to repair the vast majority of cars because it requires manufacturers to use a non-proprietary diagnostic interface to diagnose problems. This means that anyone can buy a OBD reader, called a scanner or a dongle or computer, and hook it up to a port beneath their steering wheel and determine what's wrong with their car. The law also makes repair information available to independent repair professionals. So, two important points there. It forces manufacturers to use this particular interface, and it forces them to make repair information available to professionals who request it.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Only to professionals.
It's wrong when these companies utilize violence to stop you from copying their product.
Yes.
But it's also wrong for you to force them to provide you with a product.
But it's Massachusetts, so you would expect them to pass a law like this.
Yeah.
And of course, laws like this. Like it's saying here, it's a model piece of legislation, meaning that California and Colorado or whoever else, they can just take this legislation, hit the control copy and paste button, and then they've got the same boilerplate for where they live, and essentially car manufacturers aren't going to make different cars for New Hampshire than they are for Massachusetts, so it effectively affects everybody.
Sometimes law seems to be a competition to find out how many wrongs it takes to make a right, and they're up to like millions, and they still haven't made one. Yeah. Give up.
Yeah, they keep layering on top one mistake, one piece of force on top of another law, on top of another law. And it just gets really ugly, like where this situation is like, which side do you take? Are you against right to repair? No, we're in favor of it, but not this one.
Free Talk Live is aired on nearly 200 radio stations throughout the week, and we've been doing this for almost 18 years. You can call in any evening from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern to talk about whatever's on your mind. Sure, you can waste your time on Facebook and reach dozens of surly posters, or you can call in with your issue and reach 3 surly hosts. Oh, and nearly 500,000 weekly listeners. The number is 1-855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom.
Every year, over 1 million fires burn in America. Fortunately, firefighters are on the job, saving life and property, and you can be a part of it. 7 out of 10 firefighters and emergency responders are volunteers. There's no typical firefighter. Anyone can volunteer to serve their community. Volunteering as a first responder is really about having the heart and drive to make a difference where it's needed most. Your community needs you. Are you ready to answer the call? Learn more and find local volunteer opportunities at makemeafirefighter.org.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free, bring up anything that you want here. The number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
Also, I want to invite you to check out our satellite fundraiser. You may not know this, but we actually have a couple of what they call free-to-air satellite channels. And free-to-air means that the receiver does not have to pay to receive the signal. So it's like the old over-the-air systems where if you had a little set of rabbit ears on your TV, you used to be able to get TV channels. Remember,
popular in Africa, right?
Yeah, so free-to-air is a satellite system that sort of does the same thing. You point the dish at the right place in the sky, and you get, in some cases, dozens or hundreds of channels, and one of them is LRN.FM. If you're in Sub-Saharan Africa or North and Central America, you can receive our broadcast channel. And it's something we don't talk about a lot, and it's probably my fault. There's always other things to discuss, and it's not the top of mind. But given that the time is coming to renew the satellite contract next year, I thought it'd be a good time to start promoting this again and trying to incentivize people to contribute to our fundraiser. We've had a fundraiser going on for the last 5 years. We started with one of those Kickstarter kind of companies. It wasn't Kickstarter. It was one of the other ones. And that didn't work out too well, so I went to Patreon because I wanted to get people on a monthly plan rather than trying to raise money on once-a-year basis, just sort of raising it around the year, basically. And I like the idea of a monthly thing better, but still, we just didn't promote it that much. So we only had about 15% of our funds raised of the total amount that it costs to run these satellite channels. And I'd rather have more than that. I'd like to have more people showing that this is an interesting project, that they support it. And so the idea is I'm going to have the Shire Free Church, which is behind this show and the satellite channels, matching contributions now. So people that are wanting to contribute to this, your contribution will be matched. And that hopefully will not only mean that we can save these two satellite channels and continue them into the future, but maybe even get another one, maybe get a third channel covering a different part of the world. And so we actually have had a few people sign up over the last week or so I want to say thank you.
Is it possible to get a channel that covers this part of the world?
We have
people
that. It's called Galaxy 19. It covers all of North and Central America.
Okay, so people in Keene could listen to us through that.
Yeah, that satellite dish right out in front of the house. It's pointed. It's pointed at that satellite.
Of course, people in North America.
Okay, nice.
Most people in North America have an internet connection too that they could just stream it.
Yeah, well, so that's why the North American one is probably the least important of them. If I have to cut one of the satellites, that's the one I'm going to cut.
Definitely Central America and Africa are better. Well,
Central America is the same one. It's the same satellite. So, but Africa is fairly unconnected as far as internet is concerned. The most recent numbers I saw were 2016, and it was only about 25% of sub-Saharan Africa that had internet access. So. The supermajority of the population doesn't have it there. And so these are fairly popular devices there. Anyway, if you want to get behind this fundraiser, it's $2 to get into on a monthly basis, or you can do more if you'd like. And, we got different tiers that you can contribute on over at Patreon. You can go to fund.lrn.fm, fund.lrn.fm, and we certainly appreciate it. So we've got more here on this.
Actually, one more note on that, which is if you happen to be listening to this in Africa, and you drop me an email at invisiblehand.church, Pope at invisiblehand.church, I'll drop a few bucks in the fundraiser for you.
Now, how are you going to prove it? How are they going to prove they're in Africa?
I don't know, but I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
So thank you for that. I appreciate the
I don't know. I mean, I just want to point out that a lot of people in Africa may not have email. They're using like Facebook, they're not even using real internet connections.
The Facebook phones, the Facebook only devices.
Right, like they have cell phones but not actual internet access.
Church of the Invisible Hand also has a Facebook page.
Well, there you go. That might work.
So let's talk a little bit more about this so-called right to repair. Because again, they already have this on the books in Massachusetts. So the proposal that the automotive industry is opposing here is an expansion of it. Is to so-called close a loophole. According to Vice.com, the question, so it's going on the ballot. Voters are going to be voting on this in November, I presume. They will close a so-called loophole that in the earlier law exempted cars that transmit data wirelessly. So the previous law required cars have this port on them that
the ODB2 or something, I think.
OBD reader that every car repair shop and even an independent person can just go buy one of these things. And you can plug it in, and it tells you supposedly what's going wrong, with the car. And so they're saying that the cars that were transmitting that information wirelessly were exempt from that law. As cars become even more computerized, independent repair shops are worried that manufacturers will do away with the OBD port and will store all the data wirelessly, exempting them from the earlier law. So the new initiative guarantees that car owners and independent repair companies can access this data wirelessly without, quote, authorization from the manufacturer, unquote, and requires car manufacturers to store the data in a secure, standardized, open access platform.
That's a big issue in and of itself. There should not be a wireless connection to these systems like this. I mean, talk about, predators and things like that. Like that's the security risk right there, not the open part of it.
Well, I mean, if all they can do is read data from the system, it's just going to tell you what's wrong with the car.
Until somebody hacks into it, then they can start writing to it.
Yeah. I would not want somebody to be able. There's no reason to make a Bluetooth connection to your car.
Yeah,
that's just stupid.
It's just such a bad
maybe
idea.
to the stereo.
Right.
But then isolate that from the actual
the problem
car.
is these stereos are often actually integrated into the vehicles today.
Yeah, don't do that.
They're actually, if you take a vehicle out of take a stereo out of some vehicles, the vehicle won't turn on.
This whole thing just kind of talks about, generally this discussion is the computerization of the car and the automation of it. And I got to say, as a computer guy, I appreciate what they're trying to do, but I also like to drive.
Yeah.
And Mark, one of our regular co-hosts, he got one of these more...
I hate his car.
Yeah. Have you driven it before?
I haven't driven it. He's just explained it to me, and I'm like, I don't want it.
Right. Yeah. He explained this to me as though it was all these great features. So what he's got on this car, and it's just like, I think it's just the Honda Civic. So it's the entry-level Honda, right? But they've added all these fancy features to even their entry-level stuff. So it's got, of course, the cameras now. You got the reverse camera. You don't have to turn around. It's good to turn around and look at things. But so, you've got that.
I like the reverse cameras.
It's a nice feature, but I'm still going to turn around and make sure that, I'm not missing something.
Yeah.
Or the camera's not missing something.
It actually creates a more dangerous situation.
I think it does.
Yeah.
How's that?
It makes the person feel like they know what's going on.
Statistically, your accidents go up when you have those cameras in the car.
Really?
Yeah.
A false sense of security, right?
I don't know what the reason is. I just know that's the.
You're relying on these tools.
Stat.
You think they've got you covered. You might have missed something, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't see the baby.
People getting
in the
lazy
stroller.
with their driving, I guess. I'm not really sure.
Well, that's the point I was going to come to
yeah.
here. So the other features he was bragging about in this car was like, oh, well, if you, if you're getting too close to the car in front of you, it will automatically slow you down because it's got radar that bounces off the thing in front of you, and so it's going to slow you down. If you get too close to the edge of the road, like the lines on the edge of the road, it detects the lines that are there, and it will keep you from going off the side of the road. And so those are two of the features. There might have been a third that I'm not remembering.
That's the kind of thing I wouldn't want. Now, if it set off an alarm to alert me, that would be another matter because maybe I'm falling asleep at the wheel.
Sure.
Detect it, let me know. But as soon as you take control of the car away from me and the car starts making its own decisions, then that to me is just a bad play.
Now, there may be a mode that's alert only. I don't know about that. I know that this is an on-off thing at the very least because when I drove it, I didn't want those things on. We were driving to a convention last year. And I did test them just to see what it was like. And I agree with you. I don't like having the control taken out.
Too much modality in a car also is a problem because people are
too many options, you mean?
Yeah. Well, modality means too many modes, too many different ways the car can operate.
Yep.
Because you have to expect a new driver to be able to get in that car and drive it without having to know what mode it's in and what special settings it's on. I mean, you don't want people rewriting the interface on their car.
This is another conversation over smart devices being dumb.
Yeah, $855, $450 free, and it's going to lead to people who don't know how to drive as well. That's another problem here. More coming up. This is Free Talk Live.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
With a MechTech carbine conversion unit, you can turn an XD family Glock or 1911 handgun into a carbine rifle in seconds and have it shipped right to your door, no FFL required. Now, MechTech is excited to announce our pistol carbine conversion unit. More compact with a 12-inch barrel and an arm brace, proving once again that MechTech is the world's most versatile handgun accessory. For a limited time, go to handgunconversions.com. That's handgunconversions.com and use coupon code RADIO to receive $35 off any carbine purchase.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Moments remain. Enough time for you if you want to jump on the lines with us here. The toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. Joining you tonight, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
We're going to get back into your phone calls and thoughts. We do have the Discord server over at discord.lrn.fm, so feel free to jump in there.
I got two things that I'd like to remind the world of since it is 9/11. We haven't mentioned that yet.
You're right.
It is 9/11. And so the
19
first
years
thing
ago.
that I want to remind you of is that 19 years ago today, the government began an elaborate series of lies about what happened, and they haven't stopped lying yet. So bust their balls about that, please. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is Epstein didn't kill himself. That's it.
Also, your show, Nobody, is coming up on our Twitch and our DLive channels. So those are our video streaming channels. You can go to twitch.lrn.fm or dlive.lrn.fm and stick around after the broadcast show is over here, after this segment. Stick around. Come back in about a half hour, and right around 10:30 Eastern time, I think you're going to be on, right?
About that time.
All right, cool. So stay tuned for more. Nobody Tells the Truth. That is the name of that show. We're going to go to your phone calls. Rat Speed is on the line on our Discord server. Lots of Discord calls tonight. Go ahead, Rat Speed.
What kind of speed do rats use? Is it like Adderall, or is it something special?
If I told you, we'd have to do something with the body.
Okay.
I hear that pigs are good for that.
No.
Yeah, the cops always know how to get rid of the victims.
I didn't say which body. Anyway, so yeah, I had a couple of last minute thoughts. A couple of things. First of all, everyone knows about the Earn It bill and what they've been trying to do to try to get rid of encryption.
No.
What?
No. You're gonna have to cover this. Even I know what you're talking about, but these
we have not been talking about this
Right.
tonight at all. What is this?
We've talked about it on the show, I think, but.
Very quickly, it's a way to try to bureaucratize their way into getting rid of encryption through having to have a governmental committee to go through to actually earn the right to use encryption. Otherwise, you get some constitutional, or not constitutional, but some law protections. What was the law 270? I think it was Section 270 of the. I forgot which bill it was. I wasn't prepared to talk about that.
It removes liability protection effectively. So right now you don't have you do not have to basically, you're not liable if somebody posts a copyright photo on a Facebook, for example. Facebook's not liable, right?
Okay.
This will, if they do not do certain things up to some
like
arbitrary.
If they don't open up their system to where the government can have a backdoor into whatever encryption they have. Is that what they're talking about?
Maybe.
What's this have to do with encryption?
Okay. So this is what I was going to get to, is that a law like this that they're trying to propose seems to be the best vector to try to introduce like you said, mandated hardware to have into a car, or into whatever kind of, thing that you want to have, whatever you want to quote unquote fix.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's the bad idea, because once you start mandating what technology, what physical hardware has to be inside a computer, that opens the door to all sorts of things. And I would think it would be the perfect, because if anyone knows what a TPM chip is, it's a hardware encryption chip. Imagine having to have a law saying you have to have a chip on your computer to allow government access.
That's bad.
It could go, that's essentially, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Now, what is this law called?
Earn it.
Earn it?
Well, okay, so the bill, if you want to find out a lot about it, I could recommend to look at Legal Eagle's YouTube channel. He did a wonderful synopsis about this whole thing regarding the protections of Section 270 and what the whole Earn It thing does.
Is it EARN space IT? Earn it. Okay.
Yeah. In other words, you have to earn the privilege of having these protections, which have been around since essentially since the internet began. It was one of the
liability
first,
protections.
Yeah, liability protections so in this instance, if you have a web host and you're hosting a website and you have a forum, this section of this bill, of this law that's been in place for over 20 years protects web hosts or web content providers, web platform providers,
ISPs.
from being liable. Yeah, ISPs. Yeah. So this is the kind of thing that protects, like, the people that are hosting 4chan for all of this stuff that gets posted on there, or all the stuff on Facebook, or basically any website gets protected from this liability. And so what happens is that if, according to the proposed bill, if you do not have the authorization of this committee, then you don't get those protections. And those in others, you have to be in
So hold
faith.
on. Every
you have to
website
earn your right to speak.
Yeah. So wait. So if this thing passes, every website would have to go through a government approval process in order to be able to be protected from liability.
It's more like now you're not responsible as a host for what other people post, but with this bill that would change, where you are responsible for other people
unless you go through this process.
Yeah, something
bureaucrats.
Right, and they're going to tell you what people can and cannot say on your website.
Wow.
Now so specifically about that bill, the last that I heard about it, and I was listening to Twit about this, is that the bill as it was proposed went through a lot of changes and eventually started dying. But then again, a bill is just a bill.
They just
all I gotta
split
do
it.
Is change the wording. Yeah, exactly. They'll split it. They'll hide it.
There's two different components actually now. So there's another bill that basically mandates backdoors in the encryption, and then there's this bill that does the liability thing.
Wow.
So they removed the encryption part from, I think, the Earn It bill, and it's a separate bill now, but the Earn It bill is still terrible.
Bad.
Yeah.
Right. They're essentially, instead of trying to hack math, they're trying to bureaucratize their way to say you can't use math.
Absolutely.
Wow. Crazy. And that's scary stuff, because, I've said before on the air, if the government ever gets its hands on software, it's going to be a really bad day. Because if they
hardware,
have some,
hardware on a computer can have software embedded into it.
Right.
It does.
If you are mandated to have a certain EEPROM chip or something, you can flash the firmware, and all of a sudden your car has a backdoor.
There's already backdoors in computers, and there's evidence.
Intel puts them there, right?
Yeah. So Intel has a backdoor. Somebody actually found the backdoor and you can demonstrate the backdoor.
One of the backdoors.
Yeah, I should clarify. There's actually, I did on Framed Decrypted last week. We actually covered a story very briefly, because I didn't have the full story because there was never a story covered on it. But I think it was through Blue Leaks? I forget what it was. But basically somebody identified another backdoor that was discovered, and their account got suspended from Twitter over it. So I'm like, I still had the image for it, and I couldn't really get into the story because it wasn't actually a news coverage of it. But yeah, there's apparently another backdoor too.
So the thought that struck me is that the difference between existing backdoors and the backdoors that would be, according to this bill, they would be government mandated hardware, which could allow in the future backdoors, hypothetically. Since we have very little time left, I just wanted to say the other thing that I had in mind was it might be interesting if you want to continue this kind of conversation to a later program. You might want to look into having Rich Brunois from Rich Rebuilds, who does DIY Tesla rebuilds. He actually has a shop in New Hampshire. He's actually local to you guys, relatively. Might be interesting to look into getting him to talk about his experiences, because he's had so many things, not just with the right to he's for the right to fix, the right to repair. It would be interesting to get his input on these kind of laws and see where he stands on this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he's running a repair shop and he's benefiting from the government from this right to repair, of course he's gonna be for it. Most of these people aren't principled libertarians. They'll take whatever they can get as far as benefits.
That's the caveat.
And that's why you've got those same people will go into the legislature here in New Hampshire and they will argue against ending the mandatory inspections, because they know that's big money that's funneled into their pockets every single year because the state mandates inspections. And even if they're arguing to do it once every 2 years instead of once every year, they'll still come in and argue against it because that's half the revenue, right? For them in that particular. And they bring in all kinds of scary stories, and they bring in like broken parts, and they splay a bunch of broken old rusty parts out in front of the desks in front of the state representatives, and they talk about all these scary statistics, even though the reality of it is that the states that don't have mandatory inspections aren't any more dangerous on the roads than the states that do. So it's all a bunch of BS.
I've always thought that's something we should attack, is the mandatory inspections.
Oh, I've been there at the hearings. I've been there.
I think we could get a grassroots movement going on that if
it's tough, man, because the automotive industry, they get paid. And thank you, Ratspeed, for the call. They get paid to be there, to testify, in favor of this stuff. Whereas we got to take time off. Getting the average people who are going to be the ones that are hurt by these laws, these mandatory inspection laws, they got to take a day off from work if they want to go up to the State House and testify. And I don't even know if they're allowing testimony these days with this COVID stuff. Who knows what's happening over there?
How do they do that in a fake pandemic?
Good question. We'll see you tomorrow night. Online in the meantime, freetalklive.com.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had got involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
The latest episode of Questioning Authority is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From bad to worse in the West, I'm Lisa Brady. Fox News says fire crews wage an epic battle against widespread wildfires that have already killed over 20 people. We're now learning about how many people are missing. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more live.
Well, Lisa, while at least 4 people have been killed specifically in Oregon wildfires, Governor Kate Brown said today dozens of people remain missing. In California, at least 10 people have been killed in one fire alone, the North Complex fire, where 2,000 structures have burned in Butte County. The sheriff there says another 16 people are missing. California Governor Gavin Newsom toured the damage.
I'm a little bit exhausted that we have to continue to bait this issue. This is a climate dam emergency.
As multiple fires burn, resources are stretched thin. Firefighters from Israel, Canada, and New Jersey, as well as even closer states, are assisting here, Lisa.
Thanks, Jessica. For the second time in a month, a U.S. brokered peace deal is reached in the Middle East. Bahrain agreeing to recognize Israel just days before Israel and the UAE sign their agreement to normalize relations at the White House next week. President Trump in an Oval Office announcement today saying he's hopeful of more deals.
We think ultimately you'll have most countries join, and you're going to have the Palestinians in a very good position. They want to come in. They're going to want to come in because all of their friends are in.
And so far, Palestinian leaders have strongly condemned the agreements as a betrayal of their cause and the ongoing push for statehood. Earlier in the day, both the president and Democratic nominee Joe Biden each attending ceremonies to mark 19 years since the 9/11 terror attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people. Biden visiting both New York's Ground Zero and Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where he met with victims' families. Mixed finish to the week on Wall Street. The Dow up 131, the NASDAQ down 66. America's listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to DIY, need design help, or prefer measure and install services, they do it all with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. If you're nervous, know that Blinds.com has over 30,000 5-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them do the whole installation.
Go to Blinds.com now to get this week's special savings on interior blinds, shades, shutters, and even outdoor shades. Plus, pay over 24 months at 0% APR on qualifying purchases with PayPal Credit Easy payments through 9/17/2020.
As of March 1st, 2020, new PayPal credit accounts have a variable purchase APR of 25.49% that will vary with the market based on the prime rate. Minimum interest charge is $2, subject to credit approval. Visit Blinds.com/PayPal. Other rules and restrictions may apply.
A court hearing today for the officers charged in George Floyd's death. His brother filling us outside the courthouse in Minneapolis.
We need to stop this. This is wrong. We need justice, and we demand that.
Family members urging peaceful protests to continue. A lot of questions facing the judge.
No decision on motions in Minneapolis in the case against 4 officers accused in the death of George Floyd on a possible change of venue or to combine cases. Though Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill did disqualify Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman and 3 other prosecutors, saying a private meeting that they held with a medical examiner makes them now witnesses in the case.
Today's hearing marked another step in what will be a long process toward justice.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, the judge still also has yet to rule on motions to dismiss. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
One of the federal prosecutors helping to lead an investigation into the origins of the Russia probe has resigned.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This